And so, yeah, that's where I said don't put the bottle of alive.
Yeah, they overcharge you every time, even when, if they say Greek on the advert, you just, oh, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the smoothest episode of Double Feature Horror Show. It's a 20th episode, and it is smooth as at least like 20% of peanut butter, 50% of peanut butter. What's popular these days?
It's as smooth as a criminal.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Haryan, are you okay?
Yes. That is all you're getting.
Mate, I can smell it from here, dude. Charity's choking.
That is all that pun deserves. That is all that pun deserves. We have had a bit of a backstage hullabaloo. It's all my fault. My mic failed, and I had to very quickly scramble over onto another computer, which is why we're a tiny bit delayed. Something that has never happened in the history of streaming before, and I'm so sorry to be the person making that happen. But we're not going to dwell on that because we have so much to cover, guys. We have so much to get done, and I'm just going to move straight on to introducing our wonderful guests. My lovely co-host, That Crime Guy.
Hello, and welcome to the channel. What up, my shillers?
Hey, subscribe to That Crime Guy for all your true crime needs.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I did your shilling this week, and I even dropped in for all your true crime needs.
Yes. Guys, Cassandra Fairbanks is looking for true crime content, so I'm just saying, you know what you need to do.
Oh, yes. Go forth and multiply. Yes. Mention That Crime Guy. Upvote mentions of That Crime Guy.
To be fair, I think I actually got probably just a few less mentions than people like that chapter. As soon as someone someone shared it with me on Twitter, and I was like, right, go. And then about 4 or 5 people instantly were just jumping on it like, That Crime Guy, That Crime Guy, watch That Crime Guy, do That Crime Guy. I'm like, yes, keep going. But
if you feel awkward about, sending it multiple times, just make a few alts, send it on alt accounts.
Yep.
Charity, Charity, I can assure you that Crime Guy does not feel awkward about shilling. It's his superpower
in this household, I tell you.
But that brings us smoothly on to returning guest Charity Rivers, third appearance.
Hello, thank you for asking me to come back on. It's not as hot today, so I can concentrate a lot more.
No worries, you're very welcome, and really appreciate being able to get you 2 weeks in a row so we can do a bit of a thematic comparison.
Yes.
Yes, I have thoughts. I'm sure you have thoughts on this.
Oh, I do.
CO1, it's not that hard to do 2 weeks in a row.
Oh.
Can you believe he Welshed on us?
I know, right?
Oh, no.
Shocking.
Go to bed.
Speaking of, hey, Haryan, how you doing?
Hello, what up, my drillers, etc. I am looking forward to comparing a film with references I get for once.
I haven't fully addressed the upcoming dilemma that we have on this show. You're in for the fresh perspective. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you're going to be a bit of an expert, and then what are we going to do?
Replace him.
Oh no. I can act like I don't know things. It's not difficult.
All right, that'll be good. Okay. That'll be good.
As long as it keeps me in. I need the paycheck,
Yes, and in order for me to pay Haryan, I need to get those sweet, sweet Susan bucks. And the only way I'm getting that, how smooth is this, guys? The only way I'm getting those sweet, sweet Susan bucks is if I get past the magical 1,000 subscriber barrier. You know what to do to help that, guys. Mm-hmm. Like this. What are my notes saying for this? Mm-hmm. I try and customize it, and I sometimes forget. Semi-decapitate that like. Impale that subscribe button with a St. Michael stake.
Yes.
Splash holy water all over that like button.
Absolutely. Yeah, just share those links to the channel around like it was holy water on Colin Farrell's face.
Shoot that subscribe button with silver bullets that are for werewolves.
Now, did you
Whack it with
notice?
a mace.
Yes.
Now that was
Yeah.
just that had to be a sneaky attempt to do the old Blade Trinity route. Did you notice the "Hi, I'm a vampire" film, but let me just like casually set up werewolves for a sequel that will never happen? Did you guys notice that?
That yeah. And now that I look at it, yeah.
I
maybe.
thought it was a bit of a nod to the first one, to tell you the truth.
Where he
Ooh.
gets shot, yeah. And there's a wolf in it.
He's like, oh, werewolves. And then obviously, first one, or the original.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. You know, it occurs to me when I do these weird intros, you know, it's really going to be quite confusing and possibly upsetting for anyone who hasn't done the horror homework.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah,
Well,
spoilers, guys.
It's not as if we didn't give you guys enough notice. I'm sure they've all done their homework. They're all good pupils, aren't you, chat
Chat, are you good boys?
and girls?
Have you brought apples?
Do we have to call Super Nanny here?
Well, we don't call Super Nanny this week, but we do have to be aware of the time.
Uh-oh.
And if we run over, we might get disciplined.
What the hell? Right, what is that? What's that from?
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one who didn't know.
That
What is
crying
that?
guy pretending not to know, as if you haven't watched Jamie Dornan's excellent appearance in 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh god, yeah, no.
Oh Christ!
No, I have seen that. Yeah, no, I actually took my wife to the cinema to go and watch that. I'd actually proposed to her that night.
What?
So yeah, I kind of remember this.
Guys, we're not going to cover Fright Night tonight. We're just going to ask about this story. This is glorious.
I don't want to talk about it.
Carry on.
Nah, tell you, it was a good night. That was I think we both walked out regretting it. In fact, I do remember a couple of rows in front of me. There was another guy who obviously took his missus there, and when the film ended, he just looked back at me, and we sort of both looked at each other and just sort of just shook our heads like, what the hell have we just watched?
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant.
Were any
Yeah.
cucumbers left in the cinema? Do you know?
No, I took them.
Oh.
Mate.
Oh,
Healthy
dear.
eating and all that, you know. Don't wanna let that go to waste.
I of course have not watched this film, not only because this is a family friendly stream. In fact, it's the most family friendly stream about decapitations and impalings that you will find on YouTube.
Mm.
But also it's not a horror film, and I have no interest in such things.
Mm.
However, this image is to remind us that we are going to try our very best to keep to the 2.5 hour time limit that I have imposed randomly.
Good luck.
After we, what's our record at the moment? It was 4 hours on what film was it?
I've actually got the playlist on my channel. Let me have a quick look.
The Omen was ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure The Omen was perhaps the longest one.
Yeah,
Pepper's scratching my
I know we went a bit mad on Army of the Dead, but
3
in fairness-
hours. All right, 3 hours 45 was The Omen. That's
Mhm.
1 3.5 was Army. We did 3.5 hours on Army of the Dead. Are you?
There
mad?
was a lot of crap to talk about with that film.
Yeah.
To be fair, it wasn't very good.
we
Oh
were
my
hurrying it.
Yeah, so
we were absolutely rushing it.
in fact, we've only hold on. Of all the episodes that we've done so far, my God, we've actually done quite a few of these. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm surprised
The
Bly
first-
Manor was the shortest.
Yeah, the first. No,
Yeah,
the screen. Our debut one was the shortest. 1 hour.
Oh
56.
yeah.
But yeah, the first 5 we were well within 2.5 hours, and then it went a little bit over with Would You Rather, which I can accept. That was a good film
I
like
love
that.
that film.
We got it back on track with American Mary, which I'm surprised we didn't make that our shortest episode, given how crap that was. Carrie was a bit over. No, we're not too bad
We
actually.
were talking about 4 films with Carrie. To be fair,
Yeah,
well, 2.5,
Carrie
I guess.
and Carrie was under 3 hours as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm still endlessly amused that we talked about 4 Carrie films in less time than it took us to cover Army of the Dead.
I
That
know,
still
right?
makes me very happy.
So
All right.
we're not too bad. We're not too bad.
No.
I can appreciate a very long stream anyway, so I think it's fine.
I mean,
This-
if anybody watches Sitch and Adam or Mauler, then yeah,
They're the only two channels I watch.
yeah.
If you watch them, you don't have time for anything else other than that crime guy for all your true crime needs.
Thank you. Now I'm just gonna go throw my cat out because she's scratching my sofa.
All
I
right.
have a channel as well.
No, you don't.
Well, you don't
Oh.
watch your own channel, Haryan. Come on.
That is true. I absolutely hate my own voice is the main reason.
Oh,
But I make
tell me
excellent
about it.
videos.
I try and re-listen to these, so I'm being like, let's take some pointers. What worked well? What didn't work well? And I get in about 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I can't stand this bint. Terrible, terrible.
Awful.
I'm glad it's not just me.
There we
No.
are back.
I'm pretty sure everyone hates their own voice. Oh well. I don't know.
It's the thing of what you have grown accustomed to hearing is not what everyone else hears. So you get that neutral voice back, just like when you see a sort of non-mirror version of yourself. You're like, oh gosh, I look weird. I've actually flipped the visuals in some of my videos just because I got really weirded out looking at my face the wrong way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So with that, sorry, just to sort of touch on that as well. When you hear yourself back, as when you actually hear yourself talking like I'm talking now, I'm hearing myself twice because I'm hearing the sound go out and around back into my ears, but I'm also hearing the sound from inside, from where my body, essentially because it's vibrating through my body. But when obviously you hear yourself on a playback, you're only hearing it once. That's why you sound, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you listen to yourself on a recording, you sound a little bit more, just a tiny bit more high pitched. And that's because those two sounds that you would normally hear are sort of overlapping each other slightly, and it gives it that sort of like almost like deeper tone, but you don't get that if you're just listening. It's 2018.
Sounds a lot thinner as well.
yeah.
It's 20 dot. I think it's a time thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Isn't this great? You're getting so much learning when you come to double feature horror show. Just like so much value added, and there's even more learning to do. Isn't that
Science,
amazing?
bitch.
Absolutely, because this is a topic section. It's probably going to be a really quick one because this is the sort of thing that I talk about for a whole stream, or we just do maybe 10 minutes on. But we'll see. It's going to be the 10-minute version, guys. So I've called it. It's going to it's going to end before 23 minutes. Okay, guys, I've called it the Reign of Platinum Dunes. Does that make any sense to anyone?
It does now.
Yeah.
No.
That's okay. I don't actually set homework for the topic, guys. Is Platinum Dunes making sense to you? Does that ring any bells? I'm not going to blame you if it doesn't. It's sort of a misnomer. It's something that I'm. Oh, Richard Orrit is getting the prize. Yes, you've got it. You've got it. Why are we talking about turtles and Michael Bay on a horror stream? Why would we do that? Okay.
I've just Googled it and I found out why.
Nice. The answer, simply enough, is that the Platinum Dunes era is effectively an era of filmmaking and horror that is kicked off by the Platinum Dunes production studio. It's a weird name. They were very prolific, and I've always used that term to refer to the era. And this is an era that's a key part in the horror narrative. So I always talk to you guys about the narratives, the sort of ages and stages of horror. So guys, when I talk about late 70s to mid 80s, what do you think of?
I think of films like Halloween.
Yeah. Slashes, right?
Slashes, yeah.
Brilliant. And then like mid 80s to early 90s, roughly.
That's when you get your supernatural slashers, like your Jasons, your Candymans.
You're nailing it. Your sequels, it's big sequel time. Absolutely. Then something happens in 1996.
Come on, Scream.
Nailed it. Brilliant. And after that, I wish I was too. How you doing, the Talmanian? You good?
Hi.
Good seeing you on stream. Oh yes, Mergut, you know what you're talking about. I love it. So after Scream, as I've said, and I'm sorry if you watch a few of these, you know what I'm going to say. Scream throws everything off. We get a really meta era where everything is sort of processed through a layer of irony and deconstruction. You know, basically Gen X have got their hands on the steering wheel and they are driving what is being made, what is being put out. And this is partly sort of a reaction to fairly formulaic horror, let's be honest. But what do you do after you've deconstructed?
Reconstruct.
Yeah, you got to do something else. You can't just keep deconstructing. You've done it all, right? And you end up in an era in the early 2000s where you've got a whole bunch of answers to that, because you see suddenly like an explosion of narratives. Hey, Mima, how you doing? You see an explosion of narratives, an explosion of techniques. And when I say explosion, I mean 3. But that's enough for me to try and make this a thing. One of them is Platinum Dunes. And the Platinum Dunes approach starts in 2003. So this is a couple of years after Scream 3 has come out. It'll be, another, help me out, 8 years until we get Scream 4. And this is an attempt to say, all right, we don't know, what are we going to do? We can't deconstruct. We're going to go back. We're going to do something maybe more serious. And they realized what they could do is take one of these older horror films, that 80s stuff, take that and we'll remake it, but we'll remake it in a post-Scream way. We're going to try and take it seriously. We're going to update it. It's going to be grittier. We can have better effects. And that's what they did. So from 2003, you start seeing a whole load of modern productions that are just remaking the classics. Why are they doing that? They've got name recognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've talked a whole lot about things that are just like the era of remakes, endless remakes. I think this is the big kicker for it.
Yeah.
This is what starts that.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the filmography, there's so many classics on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they made TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. God, they do focus on horror, don't they?
It spreads out. It spreads out.
No.
But I believe it starts with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, you might say, Chloe, you idiot. Why are you starting it in 2003 and not 1999 when we had House on Haunted Hill remake? What about 1997's The Haunting? That's a remake. And the answer is that those are different approaches. They're different subject matter. They're a lot more. They're relatively more obscure. They're from different eras. So, Haunting is at 1963. It probably isn't. I get that wrong every time. But the date I go for the Robert Wise production is 63. House on Haunted Hill is 1959 or something. It's late 50s. So it's a completely different era. These are films that are looking at the 80s, late 70s, and trying to do those for a modern audience.
Yeah.
So we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, 2004, House of Wax, Amityville Horror, The Fog in 2005.
All good. All good.
Yeah, we get Black Christmas in 2006, Black Christmas, Hills Have Eyes, The Omen, The Wicker Man.
Oh.
Interestingly, we get A Stranger Calls that is very illustrative of something we see about this era, which is they tend to really distort the films that they remake. So the kind of subtlety of the original Black Christmas, the kind of mystery about who the killer Billy is really expounded upon in quite an elaborate way. When A Stranger Calls is infamous even, for the first 20 minutes of the film, which is basically what Scream copies. Copies is a bit harsh, but it's a very direct inspiration, even down to the ringtone. Okay. And the 2006 remake only just like blows that 20 minutes up into the entire film. It's kind of weird. So what we're kind of getting is like a memification of it.
Okay.
Like it's not always such a remake as a remake on what you already know about it. So when you see Friday the 13th in 2009 remade, what you get is actually skipping off the first one entirely and just going straight with kind of an amalgamation of the series.
Yeah.
So he's starting off with the hockey mask in this one, or rather Jason gets the hockey mask very quickly because they want to give you a remake that's basically focused on the iconic imagery.
And that film also has the best quote.
Oh, the remake.
The remake.
Oh, I need to rewatch
of Friday the 13th. The best quote. Your tits are stupendous. It's the best quote.
I was drinking when you said that. Damn it.
And I can officially say it is a Friday the 13th movie because there are boobs. I've said this to you in private. If you get a Friday the 13th movie or a sequel or anything in the future that comes out and it doesn't have boobage, then it ain't a Friday the 13th film. It's a staple. You know, you can't have it without. You can't have one without the other. I'm sorry.
Precisely. That it's the only consistent element in the films,
and they don't have to look great. I'm not saying it for that purpose. It's just it's a trademark. Let's put it that way. It's a trademark.
Yeah, I mean, Friday the 13th Part 5 was not the greatest film, but this is probably a tangent we should move off.
Yes, definitely.
Didn't you say this topic could be done by 23 minutes past?
40 seconds.
Yes, I'm so close. You also get I Spit on Your Grave, remade in 2010, which is obviously referenced in Scream as I Spit on Your Garage. So what I'm trying to say is, like, this is still kind of, it's slowed down a lot. Yeah, like the frenzy was all just after Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're still kind of doing it, but they kind of work through everything they wanted to cover. And it's interesting that what you get is the memified version. So if you are interested in the Platinum Dunes era, I'm going to give you a few recommendations. I'll open it up to everyone else to give their recommendations if they've seen them, and just say, if you're going to watch some, I genuinely recommend the Friday the 13th remake.
Yep.
I genuinely recommend Dawn of the Dead.
I watched that the other day.
And the number one that I would recommend, that I would say is actually superior to the original, sorry, Wes Craven, is The Hills Have Eyes. That was 2006. That is astounding. It is a sequel that beat the original. Sorry, a remake that beat the original. So, guys, did you see? Do any of the Platinum Dunes era come to mind for you that you think people should really check out?
All three of those that you just mentioned, absolutely would recommend. Touching upon it earlier, House of Wax, definitely check that out. You mentioned the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, didn't you?
Yeah, it's the first one. I've not actually seen it.
Right.
I've been really meaning to. I'm very bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
I would definitely agree with the Friday the 13th one, mostly because I feel like maybe it's just me, maybe it's just because of my age, but I feel like the Friday the 13th remake is probably the only effective Friday the 13th one as a horror movie. It's the only one that I found unsettling. And
also, if you're a Supernatural fan, it's got Jared Padalecki in it. So.
Yeah.
House of Wax, definitely, yeah. House of Wax
also has Jared Padalecki.
Yes.
avoid the Prom Night remake. I watched that recently. It's awful.
It's really toned down, like tame, isn't it?
It's so awful. It reminded me more of like a crime drama than it did a horror film.
Oh, definitely.
The only thing is, like, Brittany Snow, isn't it? I think it was one of her like earliest kind of roles.
Wait, Brittany Snow?
Brittany Snow is the main character in it.
Pitch Perfect Brittany Snow?
Pitch Perfect Brittany Snow, isn't it? Yeah, she's the main
How
character.
have I missed this?
Yeah.
This happened in Would You Rather as well. I completely missed it was her.
I feel like you could definitely tell, like, it was earlier in her career. She's nowhere near as good of an actress as what she is in Would You Rather.
Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. Well,
you can tell that this era is definitely quite a real thing, because that's what Scream 4 was essentially taking the mick out of, was the remakes era.
Yeah. I feel I need to rewatch that and give that a much more considered thing, because this is like a battle that rages in the Scream community.
I love Scream 4. But I could definitely tell why people don't like it. If you can find you can probably find it on YouTube. There's an extended cut of Scream 4, which includes all of the scenes that they cut out of it. And if you watch that version of it, it's like, why did you cut all of this out? Like, the film is just so much better when they keep those scenes in, and I don't know why they did it.
You know what I'm going to say?
Go on.
Snyder cut.
No, it's only an extra 10 minutes. It's like 2 hours. I don't understand why they could have just...
He can stretch it out. Don't worry.
Oh, he can.
He
really can.
Everything, didn't he?
Giggity.
I would, to be fair, I would watch the Snyder cut of Scream.
Well, definitely.
Unironically.
No, I'd go for it too. All right. Well, I think that's going to round it off. This is just a quick summary of it. We may return. We may go in more depth when there isn't like a slight panic caused by a massive microphone failure. Who knows?
Haryan.
I want to, and I do feel we need to revisit Scream 4, because sometimes just you've got a weird take on a film, and you think, oh, I need to rewatch that. Maybe I was just in a weird place when I watched it. But
wasn't that the first one of these? We went through Scream 1 and 4.
Yeah, like we talked about Scream 5. Effective. It was a way of talking about Scream 5 as basically like, what are you gonna do? Because my whole point, I made a video about it, that basically Scream has nowhere to go, and unless it like stops being meta. And I had some really good conversations with people, like, because no one wants to go back into the comments of old videos, but I'll say one idea that we thought they hadn't settled and hadn't played with is Scream 5 could do the thing of like the competing canons. So what you could have is like, killers on the loose, the murders are happening, and people can't make sense of the order of killings, who's being killed and why. And then you realize that actually you have multiple killers following different canons. So like one of them's completely disregarded the killings in Scream 3 as just like, that wasn't canon. That was as like a fake ghost face. Right. And that could sort of reference in a very meta way the way that series canon is very disrupted now. That's my little idea of something they could do.
That does sound really good. I mean, I know that a while ago I was kind of skeptical about it, but I've been looking into some of the rumors and stuff. I'm not going to say anything, because I know that you said if you're going to watch it, you wanted to go without any kind of spoilers in and stuff. But after like watching and like reading through the rumors and stuff, I'm a lot more kind of looking forward to it than I was.
Oh well, I'll give it a go. You should come on. We'll do a quick reaction stream to it. We should get you on for that.
Oh, we should do. Yeah.
All right, folks. Shall we? It's barely over 23 minutes. I think.
Barely.
You did
barely.
Yeah, smashed it.
Turns out I like talking about horror, guys. What? That's a slight
Who
problem.
knew?
So let's get into it. Let's talk about the fright that. I mean, you can tell why I wanted to do that topic is because we're talking about something that is on the tail end of the Platinum Dunes era. This is 2011, and they got round to remaking Fright Night, and they were quite liberal with their changes, Quite liberal indeed.
Mhm. Which is how I think a remake should go, personally.
That's an interesting take. I had my concerns. I certainly had my concerns. Marty Noxon's involvement, it makes it a gamble. If Marty Noxon is on fire, you're going to get the most amazing thing. But also, when she misses, she can miss quite widely. The other thing that had me concerned, you may have noticed, the director, Craig Gillespie.
Okay.
He's got a film out this year, and that film is Cruella.
Oh,
Oh
Christ.
no!
So I went into it knowing that, like, I'm quite warm towards Marty Noxon. I was very warm towards the cast. And I mean, Mergoot's right. Yeah, there's nothing. Psycho is the just absolute king of why would you do this?
Yeah.
It's an art experiment, really, isn't it? So I went in a bit ambivalent, and I think the trouble is my reaction is largely coloured by knowing it's a remake. So I'm trying to really think of it as just like if it weren't a remake, if it were a standalone thing. I'm going to need you guys to help me because I'm very skewed by this. So could I get some quick reactions from you all? Charity, would you feel up to give? Oh, sorry, actually, we should do the customary thing. Haryan, could you give us the 2-paragraph summary of the film, the 2011 Fright Night remake?
It's like Fright Night 1980, whatever. It's like that film, but it's different. So, main differences. So you've still got Charlie Brewster, you've still got Evil Ed, you've still got most of the main characters from the last one, but they're now missing his familiar, Billy.
Billy, yeah.
So already a lot less gay than last week's, which I was happy about. Yeah, so it pretty much follows the same type of thing, you know, where Charlie and Amy are together. Although this time around it's Evil Ed who works out that Jerry, who moved in next door's the vampire.
Yeah.
And Ed and Charlie, well, Charlie's kind of grown away from Ed, which in the film last week I'm like, why doesn't he hate him?
Yeah. So
and this week I'm like, I hates him good. Goes from there. They go on a vampire hunt to check out an empty house where one of their friends has gone missing. House is completely empty. The excuse is just it's Vegas. People come and go all the time. It's like, okay, why would he go without telling anyone though? So they're in there, and Charlie just gets fed up because he thinks Ed's like playing a joke on him because he's like, oh, vampires are real and all that. Leaves the important evidence at home, as you do. From there, he leaves him, and after saying we're not friends anymore, and Ed's on his way home, randomly gets attacked by the bully for literally no reason in the middle of the night. Okay. Then runs away with just his steak, gets caught out by Jerry the vampire, ends up being now this was the gayest scene when he was in the pool and Jerry goes in and he says, oh, you know, don't worry about it, it's a gift. And I was like, oh, a bit gay.
Pretty gay subtext.
Yeah, pretty gay subtext. Too gay for me, but you know, I'll live with it. So then you don't see from Ed again for a while actually. But what's it called? Charlie then goes to Ed's house after he's missing and sees that Jerry doesn't appear up on the sneaky footage that Ed got. And so he's pretty confident he's a vampire after that and starts going mad like in the first one. Peter Vincent is not a horror show host in this one. He is a magician, which is a bit weird. And it's David Tennant, which is a big win in my book.
Oh yes.
And I like this introduction where he just watched a hot woman walk past. He's just like, oh, I effed her.
Yeah.
Fish.
Yeah. That was a bit of a highlight for me too.
Absolutely. David Tennant's great in this film.
Hmm.
He's like a really dirty doctor who doesn't care. So Charlie's kind of asked a reporter to do an article on Peter Vincent, and that's to get an idea of how to kill a vampire because Ed's obsessed with him because he's a vampire hunter. So yeah, that's all fine. He then, I'm gonna point this plot hole out now. After he realizes Charlie's mental and thinks vampires are real, he just tells him to get out, and he does. Later on, he then has his mobile phone number,
Yes.
and I was like, "What?" How
Oh,
does he
Yellow
have
Pages.
that?
I
Doesn't work,
hadn't
not
picked up. I thought you were going to go for the other plot hole.
Which is what was the other one?
They
Wait.
this crazy young guys come in saying vampires are real. Get out.
Yeah.
2 acts later. Oh yeah, Dimension. I know vampires are real.
Right. No, that I think they cover that, and we'll go into why later. But no, he just has his mobile phone number for like no reason. And Yellow Pages doesn't cut it because mobile phones aren't in the Yellow Pages.
Well, they might be in America. Who knows?
I don't think they are.
Might be.
But not only that, he just says, "Hi, come to mine in 10 minutes," and that's the conversation. There's no, "Oh, you believe in vampires now, WTF?" Nothing like that. It's just, they're mates.
I also feel like it's not too difficult to find someone's phone number.
Well, maybe not. I thought it was a bit odd, personally.
Have we ever had a film where someone does "It's me, meet me at the place in 2 minutes," and the person just like goes to a completely different person? Has that ever happened?
No, because it's movie logic. But he did say, "Come to the house." Luckily,
it should. I think it should.
Yeah. I mean, meet me at the place. Then go. I mean, that sounds like something that'd be in a Guy Ritchie film, to be honest. So yeah, from there, it turns out, he believes in that. He wants to help get rid of the vampire now. But he accidentally invites up a delivery man who happens to be Ed. That this is when he comes back randomly. Which, all right, fine. He was probably sent by Jerry, and then from there, David Tennant runs back into his panic room, chops off Ed's arm, and then there's a bit of a fight there between Ed and Amy, and I'm thinking that goes on for a while. And Jerry comes up too. He comes later for some reason. I realise he doesn't have to be invited in, does he? He just comes in. Which is another thing I thought was weird. Yeah, this, and it was after a scene earlier where Jerry's like, "Oh, I have a girl coming over later. Charlie can have some beer," and it's really obvious how the rules work there because it's like house can't go in, passing him the beer, or he can't even put his hand in. Oh, cool, here's the beer. Which is a really well written scene, but then later it's like, no, you can just come in to. Because I think you'd have to be invited in personally, and that's how the delivery guy got in. Jerry just comes in. I don't know.
I noticed. Okay, so we have a bit of a fight there.
Yeah. I can't remember how they get. I know they kill Ed. Ed's not really a character in this film.
It's a bit of a shame, really, because he was quite focal in the original, wasn't he?
He was amazing in the original.
Yeah.
I mean, on a subjective level, I hated both versions of Ed, so I was quite happy about it. But in terms of wasting the character, they just waste him in this one. Well, I can't remember what happens to Jerry though, because they get out of there.
He tries to go after Amy, and then she throws holy water on him, which I thought was quite cool.
That was fun. Yeah, because she shoots him with silver bullets. And he's like werewolf, and so she's like, "Oh, holy water, splash!"
Vampires,
which she also did not know was holy water. It wasn't.
I think with a load of vampire memorabilia, you assume it's holy water. I'm not that. I don't mind that. That's not that far fetched. Though why you'd have a random werewolf gun in the middle of all the vampire shit?
Because werewolves are real too, guys.
Well, apparently, yeah.
Maybe he took a liken to it.
Wait. Oh, God. So after that, they go home, and where what's he called? Charlie's like, oh, don't invite the guy next door into the house. He's a real creep, whatever. And she's like, oh, I'm a strong woman. I know what I'm doing, whatever.
Strong.
Yeah, and then he's just at the door. He's like, oh, he broke into my house because he did break into his house earlier. Oh yeah, I've completely forgot this bit. Broke into his house. Charlie broke into Jerry's house. He sneaks his way around. All right, fine. He's not him. Goes upstairs and then Jerry comes back randomly. It's like, fine. He need tension. He hides in a cupboard, and it happens to be the one cupboard that's like a trapdoor cupboard, like fake back cupboard. So he goes through there, and then there's a random like 6 jail cells there. Yeah. Like, how have you hidden that?
Where do you hide yours?
In the basement, like normal
you,
people. Like we find out he does later.
I was going to say, you telling me you don't have a secret prison cell in your home?
Well, not upstairs, because then you think of the plans. You're like, oh wow, why is the upstairs like half the size of what it looks like outside? You know?
Yeah, but everyone suspects the basement. That's why it's got to be like upstairs. Come and check out my cool wardrobe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a Doctor Who reference, given that Tennant was in it.
Maybe.
That would be boss if that's true.
There you go.
I don't think they tried to put TARDIS technology in a house, but that's just my guess. So he sees the woman that was taken in by Jerry, and he tries to get her out, can't pick the lock, so hides in another one. Then she gets bitten, and she's like, "Oh, don't make a noise." Then when Jerry goes, he tries to sneak her out. Successfully does after it's obvious that Jerry knows they're in there, but he lets them go out because it's daytime and she's a vampire, so she burns immediately. And camera goes back on him just eating the apple and smirking. And I thought that was a really good moment. The way the house works, absolutely no sense whatsoever, but it was cool.
Yes.
And,
it was.
Yeah.
To be fair as well, like I should have expected that. Like he's just better. Of course, she's gonna like explode in the sun and stuff, but it still got me.
Well, I was kind of
cool.
Yeah, well, I was kind of like, why is he letting him go? And it's like, oh, he's toying with him. That's fair enough. And yeah, we'll get into Jerry's motivation later because I just do not get what he's going after. But so Jerry turns up at the house while Charlie's acting all weird, saying it's a vampire or whatever. And he's not let in. The woman's like, oh, get the police instead of coming in if you want to get the police involved. So he just walks around back and starts digging. And I'm like, why is he digging? And then he gets to a gas pipe, cuts it open, and sets a lighter on, starts burning it. Now, usually that would just make a little fire in the gas main there. It wouldn't do what it does in the film where the fire goes all the way through and explodes the house. But that's what happens. And his reasoning here is, oh, I don't need to be invited in if there's no house. Which I'm kind of like, what's the point
cheating.
in the it's like, what's the point in the don't be invited round rule if you can just tear the house down?
It's a very Marty Noxon change. It's it's a deconstruction. Like, we know the rule. Okay, let's play with the rule. That's pure Marty Noxon.
Well, I'm not even
new decade, new rules.
Well, it was dumb.
All right, we get
that. So then there's a little chase, isn't there? And then we get to your favorite scene with old Jerry. But
I did love old Jerry.
Old Jerry crashed into the back of the car they were trying to get away in. After what's he called?
You thought the gay stuff had stopped, and then old Jerry comes up and rear ends them.
Exactly. Yeah. With
Subtle.
not enough lube, yeah.
What
Very
a payback
painful experience.
What a callback, guys. Should probably announce my gay credentials on one of these streams so that I can make these jokes and get my Susan bucks.
Yeah, there was a really weird reverse Chekhov's gun thing here as well, because at the beginning,
Chekhov way.
Yeah, Charlie's bike, he's like, oh, it never works, this thing. Oh, he's complained that his bike can't work. So later on, they have when they're escaping, the car knocks the bike and breaks on the wheels. But I'm like, but the bike doesn't work. So why not just have it that the bike doesn't work and then he throws it? Well, the reason is because they want the engine to work. Well, why mention the bike doesn't work in the first place?
And then the engine doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, he turns it on, but the wheel's broken. So he throws it in. The engine's still going while he's throwing it in. So that's fine. And then he gets run over, and then he Cape Fears them for a bit.
Yeah, nice.
Which cool. I'll take that. Puts his little hand through the thing, and then they get Then when they get him off, they get rear-ended by what's he called? Old Jerry.
Chris Sarandon. Chris Sarandon. Yeah.
New Jerry comes from under the car and just bites him. Well, yeah, they're like, "Oh, get back in the car, get back in the car." I'm like, "Why does that have the house rules or something?" But when he gets out, he then gets back in the car and like no match for him. So I didn't. Why were they saying get in the car? just run.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, yeah, I don't know what ideas were going through their head. And then he gets out a cross, and then he does his whole you got to believe in faith, and then touches the cross and burns it. So I don't know if he's got like fire powers or if he just doesn't care about crosses.
No. I think that's the cross having the effect on his hand. But he's probably so used to it now. He's just got resistance to it, isn't he?
They never revisit
that happened
it.
in the original as well, didn't
it?
Yeah. But it's that they do something with that. Like first it's like no faith, and then Billy gains his faith and believes in it, and then it works. So they do a little arc, whereas this it's like they try it and then it's quite telling that in 2011 I know there's a vampire right here, but I'm not going to believe in anything. Come on, man. Don't be weird. It's 2011, bro. I just thought that was kind of a very, like, is it me or is that a very telling touch? That it was that was off the table.
If it's intentional, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So after that doesn't work, he tells Charlie, "Oh, if you want to kill me, you aim right here. This is where the heart is." Why would you tell him that? And so then he gets staked by a real estate sign, which was really funny.
Yeah,
Tony Collette just fucking impales him.
Yeah. And then his mum faints, and then they get her to a hospital, and then it's like, "Oh, now it's personal." Or goes back to Peter Vincent. He's like, "Nah, I'm going, mate." He then tells him that he knows that vampires exist because his parents died to vampires. Which proper horror show you think's a plot hole? I think it's okay because of his reasoning.
I do have a theory for that as well, actually.
Ooh, okay.
So you talked about when you were going through the June production, Platinum Junes, about how some of the films, like Friday the 13th, for example, mishmash certain films together to get the plot moving along. Like you didn't have to wait 3 films to get Jason his mask, for example. So
yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, but with the original sequel to Fright Night, Charlie essentially has gone through like years of therapy since the events of the original film. And he is convinced that Jerry was actually just a serial killer. And so he goes back to not believing in vampires again. So I'm thinking when Peter Vincent early on in the film is like, "Don't know what you're talking about," I think that's just him in denial because he knew the truth all along, but he essentially suppressed himself.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
And
he basically says that because he's like, "Oh, I was a child and they got killed by vampires," and I'm just like, when he got older, he's like, "Oh, that's what I was just telling myself as a kid." He was probably just a deranged serial killer. So I'm fine with that.
As a cope. So I think maybe took that element from the second film and applied that to Peter Vincent's character because he's a vastly different character in this film compared to the original.
Yeah, it's really it's a thing with this film. Like they kind of misunderstand what makes the first film so great, but still do pretty good things even with the differences. So yeah, I mean, plot hole. I don't personally take it as a plot hole, but I don't know. You can say it is, cool. But I mean, because we all tell ourselves things as kids, don't we? And then we're like, "Wow, I was an idiot." We all believed in Santa.
Wait, what?
Haryan.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh no, family show. Oh
no.
All right, Harry Potter.
Why don't you believe
in Harry Potter or something? I don't know. I'm
trying to say, stop it, man. Stop it.
I'm trying to. Oh no.
Oh, dear.
All stupid things we believed as kids are totally real.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unless you're Peter Vincent. Oh no, even Peter Vincent was proven right.
Yeah, see?
Oh, well.
Oh, Richard.
All
Yeah,
right.
I know there was a sequel to the remake as well.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that
argue
is
that doesn't
funny.
count like Grease 2.
It's
Well, this I gotta
basically like
see.
Troll 2. It's or Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Hmm.
So those were sequels made with no connection to the original, with no involvement whatsoever, and just be like, sod it, say it's a sequel. Just go. I hope you don't
Nice.
get. We're Italian. No one's going to sue us. This one wasn't made in Italy. I think it was made in. I'm just going to look it up. Sorry, guys. It was made somewhere off Romania. Well done. Same place they went to shoot Seed of Chucky. Like, not a guarantor of quality, but very budget friendly. Yeah.
Trick.
So
Where we? Oh yeah, he went to Peter Vincent to say, "Oh, join me to kill the vampire." Then and he's like, "Nah, I'm going, but I'll give you this stake of Saint Michael. It's supposed to turn all his victims back to people." I don't know why a special stake does that. I thought there'd be a bit of lore to that. It'd be like, oh, I don't know, Saint Michael like killed the first head vampire with it or something. I don't know. But no, it's just
very clumsy exposition.
yeah.
Well, they just say he blessed it.
That's all you do something
all you
like that,
get.
or like it was blessed in Transylvania or something.
Well, he just says it was blessed by St. Michael, and it's said to do this.
Yeah, it's like, whatever. I'll take it. I mean, the first one was just kind of like, oh, if we kill him before dawn, she'll turn back. I'm pretty sure. So it's about on that level, probably a bit worse, but so it's like cool. So then I really like the scene where he gets all his vampire killing gear, and the guy just looks at a crossbow and a load of torches and whatever, and he just looks at him and he's like, oh, gotta go kill a vampire. Sure you are, buddy.
It was a good scene. It was a good scene.
Yeah. And then he's got a crossbow with a tactical flashlight. He goes through like all tactical with this. You can get smaller crossbows than he got, but whatever. It looks cool.
It does look pretty cool.
Going around with it. Goes upstairs to the random jail behind the wardrobe. Finds Amy, who got captured in a nightclub. I forgot about all that. But we'll go through that in a bit. Finds her. Turns out there's a trapdoor underneath. How you get 6 jail cells with trapdoors to go straight to the basement in that house without it being really obvious? The house makes no sense. He's like, oh, and then Peter Vincent's there explaining that it's a trapdoor. And he's like, I decided to come with you, and look, I've got a load of shotgun stuff. Way.
It's a good thing we don't have Owain on the stream. How upset would he be by the house architecture?
I don't know if you can make it make sense, because I'm just kind of assuming it doesn't make sense. But that's just me. So they end up going to the basement with all that, and then Charlie gets locked in a big dark room with Amy, while who's the main guy? Jerry's then, oh, I remember you, Peter. You've got your mum's eyes and your dad's aim, because he misses point blank shots somehow with a shotgun that doesn't kill him anyway. So why even bother with that? So Charlie has a bit of a tussle with Amy, who's now a vampire. Doesn't stake her through the heart. Jerry's like, oh, you didn't get her through the heart, and he's like, yeah, I know. I'm not trying to kill her. Shoots him with the crossbow. He's got a reaction, so he dodges the crossbow, breaks it. Cool. And there's the little fight at the end, and he's like, he throws Peter down. He's like, throws a stone at his head, starts bleeding. And he's like, why did you throw a pebble at me? He's like, oh, look over there. Turns out he's dug out the whole of the basement, and I don't know why he did this, but he put the vampires in the dirt.
Oh, I know this one.
Why?
So this was because, help me out. Peter Vincent, when he works out that Jerry is a vampire, he knows he's a certain species of vampire, and he points out that this is a burrower.
Right.
And that's something that's specific to this one. So that's why they're burrowing in the dirt. And I just thought,
I'll take it.
I've got my criticisms, but I thought that was a really cool visual. And in fact, this has a lot of cool visuals in it, which we'll get to.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that then. That's fine. And then there's like 10 of them all started to fight him and try and bite him, and he's like, he's really scared with a shotgun. Missed like 3 shots and hits 1, and then all of a sudden he has this random stake gun, and he's like a perfect shot with it until it breaks. And I don't get how he all of a sudden got so good, because I don't have a problem with him being good at aiming. He's a magician and they need to be dexterous. But I'm not convinced that he'd be more scared of just Jerry than of like 10 vampires surrounding him. I don't know. I just thought it was
Jerry
a bit
the one
weird.
who killed his parents.
Yeah, but I'm just not convinced he'd all of a sudden be able to. Oh, I can take all these guys on easily. I think he'd just be as scared.
Yeah.
Fair
And
enough.
then we're on final fight mode, aren't we? With a kind of ingenious solution.
Yes, because earlier when Peter's giving Charlie tips on how to kill him, he's like, "Oh, if you set the vampire on fire, we'll panic, and then you can make your move then." And he's like, "Well, how am I supposed to get close to it if I'm on fire?" Well, what Charlie did was cover himself in. Well, he covered his body mainly in kind of fireproof clothing, and then just put a balaclava and some goggles on. I think realistically he'd still be burned through all this, but he gets Peter to light him on fire, and then he just charges Jerry down, and then Jerry just starts panicking like crazy while the roof's collapsing in, because Peter's got the shotgun and shooting holes in the roof to get sunlight in to protect them. So he gets down a lot of the roof, and then there's a lot of sunlight coming in after this whole like minute or so of fighting, and he's burning away, his skin's away, and he can clearly see the heart. Grabs the stake of St. Michael, bam, right in the chest. And then everyone's fine. And then it's a happily ever after.
And not only are they fine, it was kind of like a James Bond ending, wasn't it? It's all sorted out, and now we're going to go bang in a penthouse.
Yeah, it's
shocking.
And then
I feel awful like I was have a 2-paragraph summary, but it's a work of art once you start doing these, Harry, and I'm like addicted to your summaries.
Yeah. So there you go. Same as last week's film. With some minor changes, I suppose.
Nailed it. So there is so much we could cover. But we've got the plot now. So I think let's just try and go through things that stood out to us. So there's I've got something on screen at the moment that stood out to me as just like a weird thing. Did you notice the titles were straight out of Harry Potter?
Well, it's in that we're going through clouds. Yeah.
This exact style, and then they do the full film title, and it's that sort of suspended in air that was in I think part 5. I was like, you've done the Harry Potter titles. Interesting. Interesting. And then the end credit titles, they were also doing something that was very popular at the time. So like the Sherlock Holmes thing did it. 30 Days of Night did it. The way they stylized the credits stood out to me. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You're kind of taking bits and pieces from everywhere. That's interesting. How about that crime guy? What was standing out to you in this film?
What stood out to me? I think Charlie's relationship with Ed at the beginning kind of stood out for me, as well as his relationship with Amy. It was quite similar, I suppose, in regards to the first. I felt like they tried to keep the sort of coming of age story with Charlie in this one. Whether that sort of resonated as much in this film compared to the other one, I would question. Also, Peter Vincent's character, as I mentioned, he's a vastly different character to the one that was in the original 85 film. I think it was quite interesting how they adapted his kind of character into a sort of more modern age.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's a theme like that I noticed throughout the whole film. I think last week we talked about how like the original is kind of reflective of it's about them growing up, and it's a lot like the original's a lot less intense. I think if you watch that and then watch this, you really do get to notice the like what's acceptable to show younger people nowadays.
Yeah.
So this film is a lot more like, obviously like it's a lot more mature, but it's still not quite as mature as like a full out like horror movie is. And I did get quite a teen kind of feel from this.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I think that stood out to me is that I don't really get what Jerry's motivation for going after Charlie and his family so much was, because I got it in the first one because of Amy.
I thought in the first one it was more that like Charlie was really messing with him and like, was really investigating him and looking into him, whereas in this one he seems to be targeting him a lot more out of the blue.
Yeah. Well, in the first one, it's Charlie was investigating him a bit and saying, "Oh, you know, he went around with the police in that one. In this one, the police just kind of come around. It's a 2-second scene. I'm like, wow, that was a missed opportunity."
Yeah, I thought that in this one, in that scene that I thought was pretty darn good, where Jerry comes and asks for beer. The way he was talking about Amy and Charlie's mum, and he's saying like, you know, they're putting out a signal. I got the feeling like he was interested in the house because of Amy and because of Charlie's mum. Also, I mean, the huevos on this guy saying like, have you seen the signs your mum's putting out, mate?
Yeah.
Do you think Charlie's going to go like, yeah, I have, I know.
Yeah, my mum's a right salt.
Schlag.
I mean,
Toni Collette. If you're going to cast Toni Collette, you want to make use of her, and it's quite good that she does get to do quite a lot.
Yeah. And this is quite I did really enjoy Toni Collette in this. I thought I was made up when I saw that she was in it. I didn't realize she was in it until I was watching the film, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be boss now."
Yeah, I think she's brilliant.
You've got David Tennant, you've got Toni Collette. What more could you ask for?
It's a great cast. It is a very great cast. Look,
oh yeah.
What we talked about is like we have got a very different dynamic among everyone, like a vastly different dynamic, and I think that really stands out. So these are these characters feel like so different to me. Like they don't feel like they're in that weird sort of like child world that they were in the start of Fright Night. The only one I think who's at that sort of borderline between childhood and adulthood is Evil Ed. You know, in this one it feels to me like they've very much moved past that conflict. They're not dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, he reminded me of a character out of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I can't remember the main
Evil
character's
Ed.
name, but yeah. But
He reminded me of McLovin, probably because it was the same actor.
But his character in this film, I mean, I don't know if I've got kids, so like they've got like the books and we watch the films and stuff. And I can't remember the main characters.
Greg, I think his name is.
Greg. Yeah, Greg. He's friend. What's his friend's name?
Rowley. I only know this because I was watching a video essay about Diary of a Wimpy Kid a few days ago.
But yeah, he really.
You're eclectic, you know.
He really reminds me of Rowley in that, you know, he's obviously he's getting, you know, there's one movie they did where they like go up to like middle school, and so obviously he's trying to like Greg's trying to like grow up and mature similar to Charlie is, but Rowley is just essentially just being himself and still being this immature child, which is fine, like, you know, because
but the problem with Ed is in this he's bitter about it.
Yeah,
and that's what really annoyed me.
Yeah, that's the massive difference. Whereas, obviously, in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that particular film / book, it's Greg who gets bitter because actually Rowley starts becoming popular because actually he's just himself and people like him, and it's almost the opposite effect it's almost the opposite relationship in here. But yeah, I mean, he just really reminded me of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid character, and I would have liked to have seen more of him in it. Unlike Haryan, I wasn't as. I mean, I didn't like Evil Ed in the first one anyway, so I'm completely on board with you there. But I would have liked to have seen how this character developed, and I feel like they just went, they cut him out too quick.
Well, I think what they should have done with him, instead of having him die in the fight at the start, kind of, because obviously he's seen Peter Vincent run from him when he finds out he's a vampire. Kind of like have him react to that, because obviously he's a fan of Peter Vincent, so be like, oh, but instead he just whinges and moans instead of going, oh, you know, you were my hero or something. I thought you'd be able to fight people like me or something.
Yeah,
Doesn't do anything like that, because he's not a character. He's just a plot device.
yeah.
I think he is weird when he's brought back. I'm with you on there, but I'm gonna say actually, in the changes, I really liked Ed in this one, because what was so interesting to me in this one is like it feels like he's way past the 80s paradigm of the cool kids and the nerdy kids. He's like, he knows he's a nerd and he doesn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And he's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like when he knows he can blackmail Charlie by showing them all the old nerdy embarrassment.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. He was like, yes, I love you. You're a good character. You're a nerd and you know it and you don't give a damn. I thought that was a really good thing. Like, I had my concerns. I got to be honest. I don't like cool Charlie. And I don't really like cool Amy, because I don't feel like they had any conflicts, you know? Amy
that's
is just
interesting, because I actually really quite liked Amy's character in this a lot more than the first one.
Do you want to tell me about that? Because like my problem was I just didn't feel like they had conflicts. Like there wasn't an obvious thing for me there. Like they're pretty cool with themselves. So go ahead, Charity.
There was that earlier thing which like they had like that mini conflict with each other. It was they kind of recreated that scene from the very first start, from the start of the movie in the first one, but that came a lot later in the film, where he's basically like he's distracted by Jerry, and she's a bit upset that he doesn't want to like get with her. So there is that, but it's definitely not as like strong and played out as in the first one. But I kind of think that like I liked Amy's character in this because I felt like she had, I don't know, I felt like she had more agency in this one, and she was I thought that she was a lot. I don't know, I just thought she was cooler, and she was more capable in this one, I think. Whereas in the original, she was a bit of a scared. She's a bit of a scared mess in this one, whereas in the first one, whereas in this one, I feel like she's a lot more like resourceful. And a lot more like self-assured.
Yeah, she's like, get in, loser, we're going shopping.
But even in like the fight sequences like between her and Jerry, I thought that was really cool. Like she actually did put up like a fight against him. Whereas in the first one, she just kind of goes into a trance as soon as those two are interacting. Whereas, because in this one, I thought that, oh Christ, Jerry's got her ear when she's shooting him with the bullets. But then it turns out, no, actually, she saw the holy water and smashed it on him. I thought that's a nice twist on it.
Yeah. Because I was a bit confused. Well, not confused, but the club scene was, well, it's funny because obviously they're trying to get through and they get lost from each other in the club. But Jerry just doesn't even try and hypnotize her at first. He like just picks her up and takes her away, and obviously some guy's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because that's how they think it's going. But then when he puts her down, then he hypnotizes her and then just bites her, and I'm like, why even bother hypnotizing her at that point? She's like petrified because of what you've just done. So and obviously underage Charlie's in there. The guy's like, got ID? He's like, no, he's like, oh, he's dangerous, and he's just like, oh, she looks like she's into it. I don't know. Why even bother doing the hypnosis at that point? I was like,
it felt to me like one of those elements of there was an absolutely iconic nightclub scene, and we should do one too, even though the meaning has changed. Like I'd be critical of that, but Charity, like you're bringing up some good points. Like I think we can appreciate that Amy here. She is a very different character, and I shouldn't be just like she's bad because she's not the original Amy that I liked so much. And there are nice things where Marty Noxon hasn't written her to be like. I mean, it would be really easy to make Amy this sort of like cool girl who's just a pain and is just a nag to Charlie, and she doesn't do that.
Yeah,
like she's rightly annoyed when he's being a weirdo, and she wants to get some cardio. Family friendly stream, guys. But then the next day she's kind of cool with it, and she's realizing that there's something weird with him, and she follows up, and I'm like, okay, this it's kind of modernized. It's broken out of the trope a bit.
Yeah.
I like that. Marty
'Cause I
Noxon
felt
has,
like in the first one she was quite passive, I think, in the first one.
She was a bit of
Well-
a damsel in distress.
Yeah, and this one she seems like a lot more capable, like a
Typical.
more realistic, I think.
well, okay, I'll push back on that. Like Amy's thing is she's the girlfriend who basically needs to be earned, definitely. Like that's there, but she's not that passive. Like Amy is the one who has she holds the boundaries, and she has the idea to go and bribe Peter Vincent.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Like so, she's a bit active. But yeah, it's a very different dynamic, which is maybe kind of good because I think we all talked about that sort of the dynamic of their first scene where that he wants to go further, she's uncomfortable, and then the film seems to be basically saying, "Yeah, I can't believe she's not going along with it. What a pain."
Mm.
And it's like I'm
That's
quite
kind of
glad we
flipped on
don't
its
have
head
that.
in this one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
flipped on its head in this one a little bit.
Mm. So that's a very welcome update for me. But because she's kind of cool, I did find it harder to kind of like her as much.
Right.
I like my adorable Amy,
Oh yeah.
Well, and you need. I think you need the bit with Jerry's lover, who's probably dead, looking like Amy. I just think you need that in the film. And if you don't have that, you need kind of something to replace it, and there wasn't really anything to replace it.
No. Well, I think you do and you don't. I mean, it could be argued that he was just basically just using Amy to just piss off Charlie, because he was just like you said earlier in the film, he was playing with Charlie because he knew he was in the house getting Becky was her name out of the house, and
It's something like
Doris.
Doris. That's it. Oh, wow,
Which,
well,
first of all, why would that Doris for a character like that's a bit weird?
that.
Unless he was saying Dolores and I just misheard it as Doris.
I think it was Doris.
No, I
No,
think
it was
no, it
Dolores. It was
Oh, good,
Dolores.
because I was going
Right.
to think she doesn't really look like a Doris, does she? Let's be fair.
No. But so it's like he's been playing with Charlie throughout the film, and then it's just sort of like, look what I can do. It looked like in the original when he just displayed that absolute dominance over Charlie in his bedroom when he bravely came out the closet.
Nothing
This
gay
was
about that,
just-
Harry. Nothing
Nothing
gay.
at all.
It's fine.
Nothing at all. This was kind of like more of an extended version of that.
Oh,
Of that,
just
of that,
side
of that
note,
arc.
there was a bit of gay subtext, a very little bit. He's in the show, and he's a part of the film. Jerry is actually watching the Real Housewives, so
Yeah.
kind of a little bit.
That really threw me off. I was like, he's a 200-year-old vampire guy. Why is he watching trash TV? That made
He
no
might
sense
like
to
that
That's
me.
the gay.
sort of
That's the
thing.
gay.
There's always a bit of gay in there somewhere. I
He
knew
might
it.
like that sort
No. This pool scene was the gay scene, though.
How can I not? I can't please you, Harry. I gave you a film full of women and you hated it. Then I gave you a film
They were really
where it was
annoying.
all about big muscular boys and you hated that too. Why are you never?
The next film, I just want a woman who doesn't say a lot but has massive waps. All right, that's all you need to give me.
I will do my best.
It's a horror genre. There must be a load of films like that.
In the Human Centipede, at some point in the film,
No.
they stop saying a lot. Yeah, they don't get any lines after a certain point. I can't remember why, but I think that might be hitting the spot.
I bet she gags
Okay.
a lot.
Oh Christ!
All right, guys, rescuing the stream. PG, guys, PG. One thing that I think really stood out to me, and this is awkward because I'm just going to go through this thing. The whole time watching it is like, this is not how they did it in the original. But I noticed, like, chat, you love the dad jokes. Don't pretend you don't. So one thing you notice, like, and this is really key to Evil Ed's character, is like, he basically jump starts everything in a way that I wasn't massively happy with. Like, you notice it takes a lot longer to get Jerry involved. And it's almost like because it took longer to get Jerry involved, it's not like the first scene like it is in the first Fright Night. Ed basically weirdly turns up with all the answers straight away and jumpstarts the film.
Yeah.
Which I found quite a weird dynamic because it kind of robbed Charlie of his agency. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I did. That was a bit weird, to be fair.
I think it would. I think,
I could definitely forgive it.
Yeah, well, with Charlie being kind of trying to be normal, and Evil Ed being really dorky, it makes sense that because the reason Charlie in the first one was so convinced he was a vampire is because he always watches those vampire films, but obviously he's not been. Oh, in this one, it's not the same. God knows what he actually likes, but it's clearly not vampires. Whereas obviously Evil Ed's a fan of
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering.
Oh, I saw that.
I saved it for you guys.
Yeah,
I saved that for you.
He's obviously in Vampire. Oh, one thing I did like actually is in that book when he's going through it. There's he says, "Oh, vampire stake gun ?" And he's drawn a little gun with a stake coming out of it, and then there's actually a stake gun later.
Yeah,
I did like that. But with
did you
him,
notice? Sorry, did you notice Ed got to say "You're so cool, Brewster"? He got to say it. That made me happy.
Wasn't as good as the original, though.
Oh, nothing ever will be.
No, just that one line. It was a bit.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I enjoyed. What were we talking about? Oh, Ed knowing it and telling Charlie. Yeah. No, I thought it worked.
It's kind of a phenomenon that you see a lot in modern horror. That whereas previously, like let's think of The Omen. You needed to go somewhere risky and dangerous to get the knowledge to get the monster. Like I'm talking in archetypical terms here, because the monster is a thing of the far away fantastical place. You need to go out of your area to somewhere risky and dangerous to learn about it.
Yeah.
And now in a lot of stuff, it's kind of like people Google it, or they find... it's you don't do that as much. Like Buffy, they would basically go to the magic shop or find a book,
the library at the school.
Yeah, which is a lot closer to it's a lot closer to home. It's a bit demystifying, which is no bad thing, and it's no slur on Buffy. But here I did find it interesting. Like all the research has been done for Charlie. And it's kind of like in Sinister, where a guy literally just finds a demon expert online and Skypes him. I like Sinister. I don't like that scene.
Yeah, but again, I think it's the times we're living in now. It's not you've literally got like the world's knowledge in the palm of your hand nowadays. And I think when Buffy was around and that was a thing, you still needed things like libraries, and you needed to go out and seek the information. Sure, you had the internet, but it was dial-up and it wasn't as widely accessible, or it didn't have as much information. It wasn't as big as it is now. But by 2011, I mean, what can't you do on the internet? Or what can't you find out?
Oh, you can do everything
without
absolutely.
doing a Google search. Yeah,
but I think the thing is the impact on the story. Like, if you want one of my terrible rewritings, I had an idea. Like,
go on.
Internet was banned, and therefore he had to go out and get it.
No, like
he used up all his AOL discs.
There was a solar flare; it knocked it all out.
Oh dear! Run out of data on the contract. No, I kind of thought like your dilemma is, what information is real? Isn't it all crap? They found like 50 tumblers from people saying they're vampires. Their answer should be they need to go to Peter Vincent. They need to break in and find his stuff. And that lets them introduce themselves to Peter Vincent in a kind of weird way. They go to him. They've had to do something risky. It's a tense scene trying to break in, and they're trying to steal some of his books. I just thought that would get that ideal of paying a price to get the knowledge.
But then, see, this is the issue that I've had with both of the films.
Mhm.
And again, it's not a massive issue, but it's just, the guy's an entertainer. They don't know. Obviously, Peter Vincent in the original had no idea about vampires. He was just a presenter, a horror host. This one, yeah, okay, he's got backstory. He knows about vampires, but he's deeply, deeply in denial about them. And ultimately, as far as the observer, the viewer, the attendee, the guest knows, man's just an entertainer, entertaining people. He's a dancing monkey. That's all he is. And you only find out more about, like I say, you only find out that he's actually got this experience with dealing with vampires because of his childhood. It's just convenient that he would be the go-to guy when
it is.
I'm not, like if I'm going to be, if I find out there's a vampire living next door, I'm not going to go to Sarah Michelle Gellar's house, as much as I like to, and ask her what to do. I'm going to be,
yeah, but you're not 17.
He might be on the internet.
Yeah, on the internet, I could be anybody, Haryan. Don't you know?
You're
Katie Price is trying to get my name out there.
Oh no.
Katie Price wants to dox me, and I didn't do anything, man. Didn't do anything.
So I think it's not just because David Tennant is amazing fun in this, like having a great time, but also not taking the pee too much. Like he's being kind of wild, but it doesn't feel like he's insulting the film.
No.
I thought this was a really smart change because if you need your expert, where do you get them in the modern age and basically still be Peter Vincent? It's like, yeah, they can't have horror hosts. That's not the thing it was. And it's a very different dynamic of it is kind of a hard sell believing that Charlie in 1985 really believes that Peter Vincent knows what he's on about and is real.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. The idea like that Chris Angel stage performer, how much of it is real? Because they really deliberately go out of their way to muddy the waters. And like you can sort of see, like, yeah, he might say, this guy's legit. We might as well try. I thought that was pretty clever. It's a good adaptation.
Yeah, I like his character. I do like his character in this. They changed enough about him to make him almost, to make him, like you said, unique enough to not disrespect the original character. There's good takeaways from both the original Peter Vincent and David Tennant's adaptation. And I actually really liked his interpretation of this character. I really liked him.
A lot of these remakes struggle to adapt these very old stories to like a modern audience and relate it to, and a lot of it is going to come down to like, how do we change these certain aspects which were relevant in 1985 to 2011? How are we going to change it? And I feel like this film does that very well.
Yeah, A Live Magician was a very good choice, really. Can we just talk about how he looks like Russell Brand, though?
Oh, he's obviously being Russell Brand.
It really distracted me when he first came on.
I just want to point out this is such a compliment. British Night, I love you for that. That's excellent. Thank you. That is what we try and do. This is the whole reason I keep doing the topic sections.
Yeah.
So excellent. Let's do more topics.
Education.
Yes.
I haven't even covered the Japanese film classification system yet. It's going to be a wild ride, guys. I struggled with this film, to be honest. But on thinking about it, on talking about it, I see so many bits that individually I think worked really well. I don't feel there was as much like continuous glory as there was in the first one. But breaking it apart, there are some bits I absolutely love. Like I liked some of the updates. I really like the David Tennant, Peter Vincent. And one of the things I wanted to show that I really liked, and I want to hear what you guys think about because I think it's an important scene, we have mentioned it already, is this scene where a guy just wants a beer.
Oh, this was one of my favourite scenes.
This was the best
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
This isn't the best screen cap, but once I got it, I knew I had to use it.
Yeah.
Look at his damn face.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it.
Yeah, Jerry in this film, they don't have like the shots where the shots where it like focused on Jerry in the 80s film where it was like, this is a really cool guy. This one was kind of more low key, saying that Jerry was cool, if you know what I mean. It's like, oh, he's a contractor who works on night shifts.
I think it's like
He's
I think
fixing stuff.
this one's just like, this is Jerry. He's big and he's hot and he's buff. It
Yeah,
came
it's-
down to attractiveness rather than him being like cool.
Yeah, doing anything particular. Well, even him standing at the door, kind of leaning on it, like trying to get in. I'm like, wow, that he's still pretty cool, to be honest. When he's helping
Yeah.
out Charlie's mum as well, just near the start, and he's like, yeah, I'll get rid of that dumpster full of concrete. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a noughties to early 2010s cool rather than a 80s cool where it's more focused on him being kind of masculine, I guess, rather than having the clothes.
Jerry was
yeah.
wearing a lot of big sweaters, but I kind of
Yeah.
appreciated that. Amy wore big sweaters too. So this scene basically, what?
I don't
She's
know.
a style icon for me. I love her. I mean, you won't go into that. That's a separate issue. Well, skip. Stay relevant. This, just saying, you know what I dress like, so maybe don't take fashion advice from me. But this scene, do you think functions kind of like the scene in the original where Jerry first comes in and there's that first standoff where he's in the house?
Oh, with his mum.
Yeah, the mum's
Not-
let him in. It's that sort of like
Not
it's
really.
I mean, yes
Really?
and no. I mean,
Okay.
yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, no, because it's not a literal, it's not a literal shot for shot remake of that scene. But they are both essentially, sort of trying to suss each other out in this scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what
Because-
it's about.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why it was one of my favorite scenes. Actually, it's just because the way that they were trying to not try and give too much away, trying to have this sort of like normal conversation, and yet just a little subtle, like, when he drops the ball, oh, do you want to help me with that? No, I can do it. I can do it. And it's sort of like, okay, yeah, okay.
You stay out there.
Yeah.
You're not coming into this house.
Yeah, kind of the dynamic was a bit different, I found, because in the 80s film, Charlie's mum was in the room as well, so they kind of have to keep the conversation as normal as possible. This one, the threats are a bit more obvious from Jerry.
It's the same dynamic, isn't it, though, that they are sizing each other up and sort of testing each other out now. Here, you've got the fact that Jerry may or may not be able to enter as, like, kind of like the questionable safety barrier where you don't know how safe you are. And in the first one, it's like the mum is there, and it's like the pretense is a safety barrier that doesn't feel very safe. They're both those scenes where the tension can go massively up.
Well,
as they size each other up.
I mean, this is the difference, because in the 80s one, it's like, oh, if he's invited in your house, you're screwed. He's already been invited in the house. And this one, this is the scene where you kind of work out if he gets in, he can't get in the house, or at least he's got the safety of the house. Until they then completely try and subvert that and say, oh, I can just blow up the house. It's like,
yeah. I mean,
why didn't he just do that then?
Well, again, in the 80s version, the mum was that safety barrier, if you remember, because obviously Jerry didn't do anything in that moment. I mean, he could have killed them both there and then if he wanted to, let's be honest, but he didn't, because he was still trying to make a good impression on Charlie's mum. And again, going back to that scene where he was messing him up in Charlie's bedroom, it was Charlie's mum who essentially saved him by calling out to him. That is kind of Charlie's element of power in that film, in this particular, in those particular scenes, in this particular scene, it is essentially it's the vampire law that gives him that sense of power or control over the situation. As long as I don't let this guy in, and do my best not to let him know that I know, hopefully I'll be fine.
It's also different to the original, because in the original one, the scene where his mum is the one who's saving him when she calls out to him, that's part of the theme of that film, of being like an adolescent and still relying on like your parents and the adults in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas that theme's not as present here. So
I was gonna say it's not as prevalent in this film.
Well, his mum's protected more by Charlie than the other way around in this one.
I mean, she does literally save Charlie.
She does, but then when she's in hospital, they put all the cross up, don't they? It's like, my mum's really religious.
I did get annoyed at when they got those crosses. Like, did he go back home and get the crosses and then bring them back to the hotel? Bugged me.
Hospital. It looked like he just made them to me.
Now,
I don't know if they were the same ones.
This is probably a good time to talk about it, because we just brought up the theme and some of the themes that change. So we're not concerned about like the fear of like moving into adulthood, and this has the whole gay subtext is completely gone here.
Victory.
Victory. Gays removed.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
Dab on the gays. This is the opposite of an LGBT safe space.
Oh no.
Haryan.
So
demonetized.
That should be fine.
I nearly had my little Wojcicki money. I was gonna spend it on reputable books. Never mind. So, but there are themes here, I think. And I'm going to put it to you, and I'm going to see if I sound like a paranoid person, someone who's overreading a little bit. I thought in this case, our vampire's metaphor is what we would call now toxic masculinity. 2011, I think they were saying that. But the idea of a sort of the vampire representing a kind of chauvinist male, I think this scene is when that is really brought to the fore. And we got to remember Marty Noxon wrote this. Marty Noxon of Buffy fame. Am I way out there?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I think my vibe I got from Jerry wasn't that of a like quote unquote toxic white male or toxic male or anything like that. Sorry. I just got him as a very confident, quite seductive kind of guy, very confident in himself. And which in vampire lore is accurate. It's they are naturally charming, and I think with him it was just a bit more cocky, if anything. But I wouldn't say toxic. I mean the killing side of it doesn't obviously help my case, but I would say more of. I think it was just more playing into the kind of character that a vampire would be.
Do you think like the women have been updated, so they are much more modern women? They're all doing their own thing. They're getting to do stuff. So even the mum has a go in a fight. Amy helps out in the combat as well. These are modern times, and heaven forfend anyone get trad. He has this line. You know the look of a woman. Sometimes they need to be managed. Like I was like. I know. I get a feeling Marty Noxon had some very specific thoughts when she said that, but then also Marty Noxon has some, shall we say, Anne Rice style thoughts. I'm sure chat will know what I mean by that.
I think he was more alluring to the sexual side of it, because he then goes on to say it's a scent. I can your mum was giving it off, and I'm sure Amy is as well. So it's less of the. You've got to stay at home and do the cooking and clean the dishes and But Give Me Children, it's more of a, oh mate, give her a good sorting out because she's gagging for it. And if you don't, someone else will.
I'm still struggling with like the absolute Chad move of saying to the protagonist,
Yeah,
your mum's after it.
Your mum is well gagging.
It's the ultimate Chad move,
Her pheromone scents are off the charts, mate. Oh.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Jerry's obviously supposed to be like a seductive character, so
yeah,
it's very much.
I don't think it plays into sort of any sort of say the toxic side of it. I mean, no. The argument could be made. Not, I could be wrong. That could be what they were trying to portray. But if they were, I don't think it. I don't think it connected with. Well, I don't think it connected well.
No,
because vampires
I
are
mean,
like that anyway.
I'm somewhat guided by Marty Noxon's. How can I say? Well, when she got to helm a season of Buffy, we got the most masculine guy there, a bit rough, ready, and unpolished. Got to have his way with the lead, and so I think Marty Noxon has some sort of
Xander
has a multitude of feelings about masculinity.
Hang on, are you talking about Spike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
season 6 was a bit filthy.
Yeah, but I mean, he went from like main back. I mean, he went the way Loki did.
Yeah, she did tame him, didn't she?
Yeah. So if that's her view on masculinity, then yeah, because he definitely wasn't the Spike of like season. Well, what was it? Season 3, season 2 that he was introduced into it. Yeah, it was a very different character by the end of it.
Yes.
And that was probably because they couldn't afford the guy who played David Boreanaz, or whatever his name is.
Boreanaz, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm surprised I've got people in the chat who haven't seen Buffy, but do not worry. That is something you've got a treat ahead of you. Charity, what do you think? Am I reading too much into this? Yes is an entirely acceptable answer.
I don't know, mate. I know that if this had been made in 2021, it would have been like I definitely would have. It probably would have had like some kind of ridiculously lengthy exposition about men bad. I do think, but I don't know. I guess I see where you're coming from, but I'm just not sure. I think read it. You can read it both ways.
That's cool. We
I think this was at a time when this film was made. It was at a time where if there was any sort of like subtle messages to be played in, I think it would have been more layered than like Charity says. If it was made today, if that sort of message was going to be put out there, it would be more in your face. You would just know.
You notice why we tend to stick to older films, but this moves us. I mean, we have a scene in between this basically where we have a replay of the very first scene from Fright Night, where it's that, are we going to get it on? No, I've got to look out my window at the handsome men. We have the replay of that. So much
gay.
You just realize like how structurally different they are, but it does lead us towards another great scene, which has already been recapped. Like this really cool, tense moment of something I really liked. Actually, I want to pick up on here. So this is a scene where Charlie has gone in to investigate and see what up. He gets a chance to go into the house, and he has Googled how to pick locks. And he tries it, and then he gives up because he's like, "Oh, hang on, it's probably hidden the key in under one of the rocks, in one of those fake rocks." But then later in this section, he does actually pick a lock on the door, and I thought, "Oh, that's really cool." So it was a cute little detail that I noticed and liked. But the main thing we get from this is a nice, that sort of scare of the sort of being trapped in the house and the building horror. Oh, how did that work for you? Especially Haryan, I'd love to hear. How did this work for you?
Which scene's this?
The scene of Charlie sort of busting into the house, well, not busting, sneaking into the house and then uncovering the hidden dungeon. Did this give you a fear?
Yeah, it was really tense, especially when they were sneaking out. And especially when he was hidden in another jail cell, just watching her get bitten, and she's like still saying "be quiet." I was like, wow, she's still basically conscious while she's probably going through immense pain. Yeah, I mean, the main issue, as we've gone through, is just the structure of the house. How do you have 6 hidden jail cells in a top room? The basement, it would have been fine. I mean, I don't really get why he needs them at all, especially since all he's going to do is bite them, but whatever. But it made for this tense scene, which, I mean, the rest of it made sense. Sneaks in, picks locks thanks to Google. Another thing,
thanks Google,
making it painfully modern.
Google can help you learn to do all sorts of amazing criminal activity. It's only a few searches away. Why not try that after the stream?
Yeah, I mean, I knew a guy that could pick locks, and it kind of looked like he was actually picking it. So that's another good thing. Good thing on there.
I knew a guy who the police would ask to break into cars because he was that good at doing it.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of it makes sense. I mean, obviously, he's just trying to search around the house for any evidence, and it kind of happens upon the cells, and I'm like, I was okay with it, really, just because he's in the main bedroom, then he hears him come up the stairs. So, well, she'd do all right, go in the cupboard, and that is like, it's a contrivance, but it's not, it's not a plot hole. It doesn't ruin the film or anything. But no, I like the whole thing, and then trying to get her out for him to, because he walks to like the kitchen, goes in the fridge, you see it in the mirror without his reflection. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Then he walks off. They start sneaking out. Then he goes back, they sneak back, and you're like, oh my god, are they gonna get caught?
Yeah, I want to point out something I really loved about this, and it's this dynamic of he sees her, he's nearly helped her, and she's like, she's scared, she's active, and then he gets that warning of he has to go and hide again, right? Which means he has to put himself in a cell and make himself really vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And then that's good enough. That's cool. But he sees the feeding, and then Jerry goes away. He then gets a chance to go in and get to her, and it's that beautiful, like, I found it really disturbing of he's got to her, but now she's been fed on. She's basically useless. Like, she's so low energy, and it's like, it feels, I don't know, just sort of doomed, like that sort of, oh, if only he'd got there earlier,
Yeah.
I thought that was a great dynamic. It really helped, like that sense of, oh gosh, it just got so much harder now to do this because she's basically on her way out. She's non-responsive. I thought, oh, that was.
And then, and then they manage it, and then she dies. He's just frozen there, like, what the hell? I mean, imagine. I can't remember the actor's name, the Russian guy for Charlie, but yeah, he portrayed that really well.
Sadly departed Anton Yelchin.
Yeah. Oh god, do I mention the Family Guy joke about Brian searching how much the Jeep that crushed him costs? I just have.
Oh.
Oh, disavow.
It's a genuine memorabilia item, was Brian's excuse. Yeah, it's quite a spicy joke, that.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's so this again, what I criticize this a lot. I had a lot of trouble getting into this film. This section was solid. Like
Yeah.
the dynamic of creeping around the house is great, and you just get the sense, actually, no, Jerry's completely trolling them. He's toying with them. It's not overdone. It's quite nice. And I got, at the right moment, I think I got frustrated of just like, okay, he's clearly trolling them and he knows what he's doing. He's letting them out. Well, how the hell does this help him? And I was ready to get annoyed and be like, stupid plot. God, how does that make any sense? And then she explodes. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I still have
Nice,
issues
okay,
with that.
I'm
I
an
still have,
idiot.
I still have small issues with that.
Rock
Namely, she explodes out in the public, in the middle, out in daytime. No one else is noticing that, perhaps.
We
But
got
what?
we got a little bit of that. In fact, we got quite a lot of that in this film. Like lots of open air carnage and sod it. There's no aftermath to this,
I thought that didn't they get out in the back? Didn't they escape through the back garden?
No, they're out on the front. I think.
Front.
Oh, are
Front,
they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the front, yeah.
Just Oh, okay. They're just gonna,
Straight to
and
death.
then when later on in the film when he attacks, well, kills Charlie's two friends, just in the car out in out in the middle of the night. Okay, fair enough. It's at night time, but still out in public. It's not exactly a clean, tidy job as well. I'm thinking, okay, because he was billed as he does these killings sort of like undercover. He's very careful, discreet, and there he is just murdering teenagers out in their cars parked out on in a suburban area. I'm like, that's not very discreet.
No.
Chasing the family in their a high speed car chase. It's not very discreet.
No, it's something where they sort of they drop the illusion a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
It gets a bit careless. I think is very fair to say.
Yeah, that's one of my in terms of in terms of issues that I have with this film. The where they drop the ball on certain parts that they sort of elaborated on. That doesn't bug me to the point where it ruins the film, but it's just like it just lacks that consistency,
Yeah. So I mean, let's get to this because we've got about 45 minutes because we never overrun now. Now that I've introduced the memes about us needing to be disciplined time-wise, this is something I found really divisive. I've sort of come round to appreciating it. And that is the decision to have a really big sort of like ramp up in activity, completely out of kilter with the schedule of the original. So they've been quite different in terms of pacing. I've had a lot of problems with it in terms of how it paces itself.
Yeah.
By sort of giving Evil Ed all the information straight away, it's like, okay, it kind of kills the build up for the tension. So I've had my issues. I thought it was quite creative for them to sort of go balls out into the action with a pretty impressive action set piece at this point, which is, just whereabouts is it? Charlie getting there, and then Amy comes and calls on him because he's been weird and his mum's there. So you get them all together, and you think you're going to have one kind of scene. You think you might have the scene where Charlie tries to convince them that Jerry's a vampire, and they think he's gone crazy. I thought that was the scene we were going to get. I mean, was that the impression you had?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, there's a kind of cool moment of the mum trusting her son over Jerry. And when Jerry's saying, let me in or I have to call the police, and she's like, fine, call the Rosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, get the filth.
Nice
Yeah.
touch.
Yeah.
It was a nice touch. It was a very nice one. And then, okay, that's kind of cool. And then Jerry comes back with a shovel.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought, people, because I think this is quite a signature section. This is something that really distinguishes the remake.
Jerry's a lot more openly just threatening. He's no longer playing that slow burn, like the long game of like getting the mother to trust him. He's not bothered about that. I love this scene mostly because of Toni Collette. I think she really is very well acted in this, and like I doubt that it would have worked quite as well without her in it.
She brings a lot of authority to the role. I liked it. I mean, let's be honest. We love the original. The mum isn't as much a character. You know, doesn't really have her arc. I mean, Toni Collette doesn't have a massive arc here because she gets sort of shoved in hospital after this bit. But she does get to Beyond the Pale. We have not got to the cameo yet. We'll be on it reasonably soon, I think. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. It's a massive intensifier. It's more in line with a modern a modern film. You know, you get your massive action sequence. Like I thought, it kind of had a bit of that Marvel pacing. Yeah, you know, middle of the film, we're gonna have a really massive set piece. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, this is where the film started to fall apart for me.
You didn't like this. You like physics, don't you?
Well, it's not even just the physics. I just don't understand what Jerry's plan is at all.
Jerry makes it clear, doesn't he? Get rid of the house, blow the house up.
Yeah, but that's going to kill.
I can come in now.
But is it like is he trying to kill them? Because then he doesn't act like he's trying to kill them after that.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. If you're trying to blow a house up, you're trying to kill the people inside. Then he chases them, and he's doing his best to keep them alive to capture them. I'm like no, why would you risk it at that point?
Man's hungry.
Killed you like 3 times.
Fear tastes really nice, apparently. You know,
he wants a snack.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, for a start, yeah, the physics is all out. It's you know, if you light a gas main, just that bit that lets the gas out goes on fire. It doesn't go up the pipe and go into places where the gas isn't even turned on. But all right, let's say it does. It won't then explode twice. And the way the second time it blew up, that blew up the entire. They'd be fried inside. They would not be alive. So it's like, right, so he is trying to kill them then. Oh no, then he chases them, goes under the thing instead of just crushing the car, which I think he could have easily done given the way he's got super strength and all that. So I'm just at this point, I'm like, right, I don't know what Jerry's motivation is. This is just a scene trying to like ramp the tension up, but it makes no goddamn sense. So I'm just it kind of lost me at that point.
Yeah, I mean, again, and this is just another example of these allegedly subtle and discreet vampire not being so discreet by basically causing a gas explosion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if the house opposite me blew up, I'd notice. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
and then I'd look out my window, see a vampire chasing after a car, or lobbing a motorbike into the back of a car.
It's quite funny.
Funny, but you know, again, it's not discreet.
Yeah, because before this as well, you've got the two bullies, don't you? I can't remember that. One's called Mark, I think, and he just kills them. He just kills them in the middle of the street.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And I'm kind of I've just remembered that.
What? Yeah.
Well, he bites them and turns them into vampires because they're at the end.
But he's covered in blood.
He's not being smart about it at all. No. Like, but it's literally like Jerry's brain just falls out his ear in the middle of the film, and I don't get why.
You know, in terms of forensic evidence, he's leaving plenty in that car.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they're just relying on us to think, oh, this is a small town. There's not many people around.
It's Vegas.
Yeah, I think that's what he is.
It's Vegas. Yeah, they live in
Vegas.
Yeah, but like when
it's outside Vegas, but it's like
it's a very small thing. Like when they pan in, like in the beginning of the film, like it's a small part of it.
But
you'd
again,
still
everyone knows.
There's
If
kind
anything,
of
that
in-
makes if anything that makes it worse because in a small town or village or whatever, everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows everyone's business.
Oh,
You
I am
know?
so glad
Yep.
you said this because this is what I picked up. If you notice at the start, like it shows you the overhead, and you just notice this community is so artificial. Like it's just a
Yeah.
square area where the
Yeah.
houses have been parked.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of interesting. Jerry specifically says he goes for this area because it's completely transient. Like people are moving in and out all the time, which means there's no continuity of community, which makes it vulnerable. I was like, that's a little based. Nice. Yeah, lack of security in the community. And then he's showing like how close the houses are. He can just get from one to the other. And then he proves the complete vulnerability of the house by just going and digging up the gas main and violating physics. You know, I thought that was kind of interesting subtext. I liked it. I liked that bit.
Yeah, but then you got this small community, and it's, as you say, people should know kind of what's going on with each other. But then Evil Ed's like, I can't remember the guy who disappeared's name, but he's like, oh, he's gone. And and Charlie's just like, oh, everyone just comes in and out of this town. We don't really see that happening.
No, we don't. We also, did we ever really confirm who the person killed in the intro was? I had no idea who that person was.
I think that
was
the kid, and that was the friend.
Yeah.
Is that meant to be their mate Adam? I don't know.
That was it, Adam. Yeah.
Wasn't
I think that was
clear
supposed
to me.
to be Adam. Well, I think it was supposed to be Adam because the whole family died in that scene, and although it was a pristinely clean house. It was surprisingly, if it was the same house, because there was bloody everywhere.
Let's take. I think we have to take a moment at this point to credit something that was very well done, although it's not necessarily all that original. So I pointed out how the titles were taken straight from Harry Potter, and the end credits are taken from other films. This has a continuous shot circling around a car as they make their escape. It is technically very complex.
That was really good.
It was really good. Now, this had been done before. This was very clearly inspired by Children of Men, a very interesting film, very stylish. I'd recommend it. But just because it's not that original does not mean, I'm not going to slate it for that. It saw a cool thing and it used it for its own purposes. It's a set piece. And it's something that really impressed me. I like that they thought to put this set piece in, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really well shot bit, but same issue with the just action scene. Its whole foundations are just, why is this scene happening? Well, I'm not really sure what Jerry's actually going to do here. What are his intentions with him? Because it seems like he just wants to kill them, but then he keeps doing stuff that obviously won't kill them. So
again, I think he's just playing with them because he
why
knows
would
he
blow
can.
up a house if he wants to do that, though?
No, I know. I'm completely on board with you there. I'm completely on board with you there. It makes no sense.
Yeah. It's such a shame because I thought the beginning of this film was pretty well written.
Well, I did. You say that there was a scene after Dolores gets toasted, and he's at home, and then the mum's there, and she's like, you're right. He's like, I haven't got time to answer a million questions, and he's like,
oh yeah, that was stupid. Yeah,
that was dumb as frick, man. I would,
people just don't tell you things that they would. Yeah. It's like, I've got evidence at home. Yeah, you don't instead say, he doesn't appear on monitors.
Yeah. But go one step removed from that. Just tell your mum what you went through. Don't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to explain the vampire bits, but you can just say, look, I was a bit worried about Dolores, and I went in, check out, and turns out he's got a bloody sex dungeon in his, prison system in his house. I've managed to get her out while he was attacking her, but then he then grabbed her and took her back in and killed her. I don't, you can sort of sugarcoat it a little bit. And then, oh my God, he's a vampire later on, Yeah. But it just, like, I haven't got time. And he says it twice. I haven't got time to answer a million questions.
Well, the
man.
second time he says it, she wasn't even asking a question.
No,
she made a
no.
statement,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what? Oh god, it was funny.
Fatigue, exhaustion, confusion and delay. But no, that could have been why. I mean, but yeah, I think just the fact that he couldn't have sugarcoated the truth a little bit just to make it believable. Because obviously, if your kid turns around and says to you, "Oh yeah, by the way, I saw a vampire sucking the blood out of one of our neighbours and she exploded in the morning," I might be a bit like, right, okay, but you're going to the doctors.
There are a few things that the changes in this did that made, say, Jerry's case weaker. So in the first one, there's really no evidence that they've been up to anything.
No,
The bodies are brought in and they're disposed of instantly.
Yeah.
Whereas Charlie in this one can say, "Excuse me, officer, can I point you to some really filthy sex cells that are hidden behind the closet?" It's like those are like evidence there. He can just take them to the imprisoning enslavement cells, and there's your evidence.
Yeah.
That at least makes Charlie look not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
my god, they're vampires. Oh, I didn't know.
I mean, did he call the police after he investigated the house?
No.
No. Because if you had a scene like the 80s film where it's the officer says, right, you make this report again, like then you're going to jail or whatever. None of that. It's just no interaction with the police. It was a really lazy way to kind of get the option of the police out of there. I mean, whereas the 80s one did it really well.
Yeah, maybe they might have been in an area where it was defunded. I don't know, but
let's
I don't know, like, the police scene. I mean, obviously for different reasons, but the police thing in this, I kind of appreciated more because one of the gripes that I had in the original was that he was very quick to run to the police, and then while the police was inside the house, go, "He's a vampire." Whereas I kind of appreciated where he calls the police because of the scream, and then the police come and investigate, and then obviously you see them through the window, and then they leave. I don't know. I just thought that was a bit more realistic. But it's probably a bit different because this is when he knows it's a vampire, and it's not just about the scream.
Yeah.
Beyond the Pale, there's a social hierarchy in place. I'm afraid that's how I can say Sex Dungeon.
Yeah, embrace it.
Yeah.
All right. Now we've got a stunning dapper chap on the screen at the moment.
Yeah, he seems like he was really cool in the 80s, if you ask me.
Did you guys, when you were watching, did you guys notice it? Because I don't think I wouldn't have recognized him.
I suspect.
I'll be honest. I suspected it, but I didn't confirm it until I saw your tweet earlier this afternoon, and then I went and had a quick look, and I was like, "Yes, it was." But I didn't know for sure. It was purely like, I think that might be.
Yeah, I would have thought. I find it interesting they got him. They didn't get anyone else in, as far as I'm aware. Like, because it's kind of the thing, isn't it? You do try and get someone in, if you can. I mean, notably, I believe Robert Englund did not turn up for the 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. He's been a bit spicy about that one, bless him. Robert Englund's a cool guy, by the way. He's fun. Yeah, you get a quick Chris Sarandon cameo here. I wish they'd got more in. It's a cute thing you can do. But I would not have noticed, I think, initially, except I was really looking out for it. And I spent so long like wondering, is anyone going to cameo here?
Yeah, I mean, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. When I first saw this scene, I did think it was one of the characters, but I thought it might have been. I actually thought it might have been Charlie from the original films, and not Jerry.
Yeah, I'm going to try and see how the guy looks now. Are you interested in how Charlie looks like now?
Go for it.
Yes.
William Ragsdale.
So you're not going to show us a tombstone, are you?
He doesn't look bad. Disavow. All right, hang on. Okay, I've got it. Right, that should work. Okay. Sorry, I'm being really slow on the old screen tech. I looked up Amy as well. Amy's looking good. It's really nice. Yeah, seriously. All right. There it is. He's looking okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I could show you some of Evil Ed's film career, but this is a family stream, as we discussed last week.
Can you do a side by side with Crispin Glover?
Ooh. No, too much tech for me. Too much tech. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was nice that they got the cameo, and it is more just it's a nice touch, really. Was that the one we're on? No. So it was nicely done. It's a very quick cameo. I wanted to ask, what did you think of the? Because that scene's where we first get a bit of the old vampire effects and see them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they really focus on like the face CGI.
Yeah.
His teeth were going away, which is like, I mean, you're just showing off your technical kind of how far films come in those days. But I mean,
but
to be fair,
it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it's still a bit like, it's like 2011, like CGI probably wasn't as good as it is today. So like, it did look a bit dated even then.
It looked all right to me, and I was going to say as well, it's kind of when, computer graphic effects, they were kind of about for a bit, but they were just kind of getting really good at that point. So I don't mind them doing that really, but I'd just rather see less of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got you one example here that I'm going to get on screen because it's 2011. I feel we're very much leaving the danger zone of CGI effects when you really shouldn't be using them. But there are a few dodgy things that get through. We're not 100% there yet, and it's not flawless. So you've got this. I mean, there is some really nice stuff in here. Some of it looks really good still.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun when it's just like the eyes, isn't it?
Yeah. I've gotten you this frame because you can see the CGI digital blood there. I thought,
why did they do that?
Why do they do that, Haryan? They do it because if you don't use squibs, if you use CGI blood, you don't have to do retakes and have multiple costumes. You can just make the person run through the movements multiple times and just do the digi effect. So it's basically it's purely time saving, to be honest. But
no effort from these films anymore, is there?
It's too tempting. It's like George Lucas and his green screens. Why go out and build a set when you can, just...
In defense of the prequel trilogies, there was more practical effects than the original trilogy, I hear. That's just a common defense there.
I'm not going to take that from someone who simps for older on. Like I've got this up. I think this came later. This was in the finale. I thought
it looked pretty good.
I don't know. It's not terrible. It's just slightly uncanny. Do you reckon?
It looked better than the 80s one, I think.
Well, the 80s one was a very physical, solid effect. I might actually get that up for comparison.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, obviously, it's going to look better than the 80s. It's got 30 years kind of computer effects behind them. So I don't know.
All right. Take a gander, secure that image in your head because I can't split screen here. Secure that one. That one you're looking at, that's our 2011.
I'm pausing the live stream. So I've got that
That's
picture now.
All right. No.
Right. Yeah, Amy's.
Yeah, Amy's. Now, that is a physical
80s
effect. 80s Amy. Now, you notice there, you see that very briefly, but that is a physical effect.
That is
there's no
Yeah.
I wouldn't usually pause on effects, so I try not to because a lot of them they're designed to be seen very quickly. But I think that looks a bit amazing. Like, the details, like the sort of ooze and gore on the chin, it's not very flattering.
I think they were right to not have this on screen too much, but it looks good for the 80s. I'll give it that.
Hey Harry,
Yeah,
when you see a girlfriend next, just think of this image, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
By the way, did you notice Amy's dress here recurring in the remake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it didn't make any goddamn sense. Why did he change her?
To show
There was literally no point.
to show that we still get vampire boobs. They are canon.
True. Oh, did Amy's boobs grow in this one?
I thought they looked a bit bigger in the dress, but maybe it's just the dress.
I was going to say, are we sure it's not just the dress?
Well, that is some sartorial secrets that maybe the ruse has been pulled over you a few times. You gotta. Let's not go down that path.
Okay.
And then I thought I'd just highlight a few things that I thought looked really good. Like, for my criticisms around pace, around occasionally it doesn't make any sense that the character motivations aren't very strong with Charlie. This film is gorgeous. Like, look at this. It looks a bit Fallout, doesn't it?
It does look like Sanctuary in Fallout 4, actually. I'll give you that.
I've got another one for you that I absolutely loved. I thought was a stunning shot.
Yeah, I was going to say that Charlie's motivation, mate, is strong in this one. He's trying to get Amy back. Why Jerry's got Amy, I don't. Obviously he's trying to turn her into a vampire, but it was so much stronger in the 80s one.
Well, it's just, yeah, he does have that. Yeah, he wants to rescue Amy and he's worried, but it's like he doesn't have a different arc. He doesn't have like a thematic character arc like the Charlie.
No,
it's kind of weak. Like you just get so just for comparison, for people who may not have watched last week's, the last one had like 2 parallel arcs where Charlie's main plot was dealing with vampires, but it was also a big subtext about him being essentially still a kid and having to move into the world of being an adult and having to grow up and being scared of that, as well as fighting his closeted sexuality and desire for strapped young otters. Whereas in this one there's not so much of a lust for scrumptious twinks. It's more just on the face of it, there's not as much subtext there. And you get a little scene in the hospital where he's talking to Amy and they try and do the thing of, I was trying to be cool for you. And then she was like, I don't need you to be cool.
Bro. I don't want a dude, bro.
Yeah, I that felt to me very perfunctory. What do you think of that
scene? I thought it was fine.
They don't make much of it, and in there's not much there for them to make much of. So I guess it's nice that they don't try and drag it out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to bring in is kind of those old dorky films. I nearly called them gay, but obviously there's not a lot of gay subtext here. But those, obviously you just wanted to hide those dorky films, and that just kind of came back round in that video where she was like, "Yeah, I knew you were a dog. Like, what's your issue?" So, no, I liked it. It was about as long as it needed to be. It explains why she's with him, and it explains that they're really into each other, and why they feel they need to kill Jerry because he's after them. So there you go. It was fine.
Yeah.
I suppose it's better that they don't try and blow it up into a big thing. So, I'm just highlighting some of the really nice stuff here because I'm conscious of the time. We do get down to our finale, and I think we might as well just head there.
Yeah, because we've gone through kind of the Peter Vincent not going and then randomly going, being prepared for all this stuff. What?
No. Something in private chat.
That's why I've just had to mute.
Why would you not say that on stream?
Because it's a
This is a
family-friendly
family-friendly.
stream.
All right, I'll be right. Remember, anagram fans,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't spell subtext without.
Subtext.
Yeah. Oh, you're unbelievable.
Oh, there we go.
Um,
Never going to get that subtext out of my head ever again.
You're going to see that every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Yeah.
So, this...
Yeah, well, gone.
Okay, so they go in, let's be honest. Was there any surprise that Peter Vincent just turns up randomly to be like, oh yeah, I'll actually help you now?
No.
No, I'm not surprised, but I would have liked to have. I would have
I like
liked
the
his
part where he
entrance
opens his. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I would have liked to see his entrance be a bit more prepared, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it literally just goes from no, I'm not going to help you to yeah, okay, I'll join you.
Yeah, I mean, we know it was something we were praising in the first one, that Peter Vincent actually goes through a quite concentrated arc of, I'm going to help. Actually, this is a bit too freaky for me. I'm getting the heck out of here. And then he has to fight again and comes back stronger than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that were taken away from Peter Vincent's character in this film was the fight scene with Ed, because obviously that was given to Charlie in this film, and that was quite a pivotal moment for Peter Vincent in the original film.
Absolutely. He doesn't have that strong arc. The closer, like he gets that thing where he has a closer bond because he is a survivor of an attack, which is like, okay, it's a bit different.
I think he's a bit more of a Giles in some respects, you know.
Yeah,
because Giles will get his hands dirty every now and again, but you know he's the bookworm. He was just there to make sure that Buffy was okay, and I think in that respect, that's what he ended up becoming in this film, essentially. Giles.
Yeah. It still upsets me that we never got the Giles spin-off series. You know.
No.
Yeah.
They're working on that. They teased it. They said it was on the go, and then it never happened. How cool would that have been, guys?
Yeah.
Imagine all the subtext in that.
Oh.
Oof.
Ugh. Make it stop.
All right. We get to this. So we've got the stuff where it's a bit more arbitrary, but David Tennant is having a great time, to be honest. He's very fun. And you see, I think, a desire to intensify, to up the stakes on the original. So instead of just taking on Jerry and Billy to rescue Amy, it's you've got to take on Jerry and about 12 other vampires. So like the stakes have really gone up here.
Yeah, it's straight from the JJ school of how to make things, how to get more tension in the scene, and it's just put in 2,000 Star Destroyers in that scene. And they've all got planet-destroying laser guns. This wasn't as bad as that, to be fair.
No. I mean, it does help, like, Peter Vincent does just get snacked on, which is kind of a nice touch.
Yeah. And he doesn't die. They're trying to keep him alive. All right, fair enough. How does he get him off him? Well, they just get sunlight through the roof. All right, and he hasn't turned yet. Seems okay, generally. But yeah, and obviously you have the shot of them all coming out the walls. The dirt. Obviously that was explained in a line I missed. Fair enough.
It's cool. It was a nice visual touch. I thought that was quite it's quite murky here, to be honest. It's a bit of a murky shot, but the shot of them coming out of the soil I thought looked really good. That was like borderline iconic. It looked glorious.
Yeah.
And you get, I mean, it basically it aims for a sort of tour de force ending, doesn't it? It goes for something where it's almost saying, I know you've seen the original, I know you're sort of expecting this to go one way, but we're going to be creative. I'm going to try and avoid Mima. I'm doing this for you, mate. I'm going to not spoil Buffy, but I'm going to refer obliquely to season 2. There is ancient enemy that's kind of unkillable.
Yes.
And this is midway through season 2, and Buffy finds a creative way around that problem. And it reminded me of this. You know, I think this is pure Martin Oxon. This is that Buffy influence.
Yeah, it was a really good setup for it as well, I thought.
I liked it, you know.
Yeah.
I was into it.
Yeah, that's the thing with this film. It's got some really clever bits, but then it's just got, you know, some of the characters' brains just fall out their head for no reason. It spoils it a bit for me, but yeah, this is the thing. I'll leave the analogy tour into the schools because obviously you're gonna have to guess mine.
I've sent my prediction.
The prediction, the prediction's already been sent. Yeah.
Oh my. Exciting.
I figured it would be cheating if I listened to you describe it, so I figure I'll always send the prediction before the stream. Because if I'm just listening to you slate it, I can just just send into TCG here.
Well, I'm like that in our little Discord chat as well. All I said about this film is that it's a lot less noncy than the last one. That's kind of all I'll say how noncy a film is, and that's about it.
I'm sorry. We'll get something noncier next time.
Excellent.
Sorry,
we'll have to start a new thing where you have to have like a nonce rating, and it'll just be your own little thing, and you can do it at the end of each stream.
Oh no!
We'll have to throw in a subtext rating as well.
Yeah, it's a 3 MPs out of 12. What can I say?
Oh no!
I love that. The nonce rating. It's a 4 lamppost for me. How about you, Pete?
About 6 firing squads.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say 6 firing squads. Is that with wood chipper or not? Oh, definitely with wood chipper.
Oh, yeah, okay. 7 wood chippers out of 8, I think. Yeah.
I'm never gonna get my Susan Bucks, am I?
No.
That ship sailed.
We're talking about putting the Coventry kids in there, right? That makes it okay.
Oh gosh. All right. So the moment we're talking about is one you said, you know, it's been set up nicely. You've got the idea of, you know, you got to stake him, set him on fire. How am I going to, and then stake him? Well, how am I going to do that? So, okay, that's been set up. That's kind of an interesting puzzle. And then you see him buying all the stuff in the army surplus store. And you're like, okay, all right. That's building up to it. Okay, this is good. But it sort of dropped out of your mind. And then they pull the trigger on it. And the guy sets himself on bloody fire and just grapples the dude.
Yeah, I love David Tennant's face when he realizes what he's doing. He's like, "Oh yes, mate."
Yeah, we're going there. We're heading all the way to Flavortown. I will quibble. He must have surely stunk of petrol or something, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought.
You'd assume so.
Yeah, because to do that, you kind of need to be covered in lighter fluid or something.
Yeah.
So. No, you got a good point there. I mean, he's only done it to his body, hasn't he? Because he didn't do it with his balaclava and stuff. And you got a point there. And the vampire
chat,
smell it.
Just out of interest, chat. Would you be interested in how you burn someone on set? Would you be interested in knowing how they get people fully on fire for movies, for entertainment? Might be an interesting one. I've talked about blood effects, but the way they manage to set human beings on fire and not kill them is quite fascinating. If you let me know in chat if you'd like to have that as a topic, I can cover that. I mean, I'm a bit scary. I'll have to talk about flame retardants, and I'm going to have to be very clear that I'm saying retardant. I want my Susan Bucks, damn it.
Well, I said last night on my stream, we're only talking about retardants if we're talking about fire extinguishers.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm seeing some positive feedback. Okay, we'll do that as a topic. I'll get you a film with a really good burn in it, and then I can show you how they do it, and how they occasionally don't do it properly.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So, yeah, you get a cool thing. You get
Spicy.
a POV. Yeah, it hasn't always worked well. Let's be honest.
I like the POV cam.
Yeah,
that was good use of computer effects. I thought
it was kind of cool. It's kind of cool. You know, the CG was there, but I don't think it's that trouble. Yeah. Hey, Beyond the Pale, thanks for dropping by. Good seeing you, mate. Hopefully catch you another stream.
Take care.
Yeah, have a good one. Yeah, it's obvious CG, but it's not terrible. You know, it's not the Scorpion King, is it? I think, and it's also quite brief, so I think it's a good use of it. And something we didn't mention, actually, did you notice that a lot of the shots were framed for 3D?
Yes, I noticed that. Yeah, some of the blood spatters and.
I was wondering why when Ed was trying to get in the abandoned house, why the bucket was like, yeah, that looked 3D. Yeah, oh, this was when 3D was all the rage. Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the numerous times 3D has come back. I mean, it's just gone again, right? I know cinemas are basically closed, but I don't see any of the push for 3D anymore. Has it died again?
Yes, because no one likes it.
It's, you know, 3D comes back more often than Jason Voorhees. It's never truly dead.
I don't think it'll be back again. I think they peaked with the last wave of it.
Oh no, man! Someone always brings it back.
So
okay.
Dumb.
Yeah, so it's an innovative solution. It's something I think I've never seen before in tackling a vampire. It's creative. It looks good. It's a good ending. And then quite gratuitously, without all that much logic, we get to the ending. And it's just Charlie banging Amy in David Tennant's penthouse.
It's not even in his bedroom, though. That's what got me. It's just like... It's in his like bar room, in his lounge. It's like, why would you let them bang in that? Why would you let them bang in your penthouse at all?
He's doing her in the lobby. Shocking.
It's so weird.
Subtext, Haryan.
Subtext, absolutely.
Well, he likes watching. Well, he likes watching other men bang women he doesn't bang. What?
Maybe.
I think there is something
is he a porn
suspicious.
addict?
Different strokes for different folks.
Very Russell Brand, I think.
So there's that. It's quite gratuitous. It's quite out of the way, you know. I don't think it makes as much sense, but what can you do? I think it was very much a nod to that's how the original ended, and we'll try and do the same thing, even though it's a very different dynamic. Yeah,
this is the thing. Well, in this finale, I think you need Evil Ed seeing that Peter. You need a whole thing set up with Evil Ed seeing that Peter Vincent's a coward, and then he turns around and isn't a coward, and maybe he has a bit of respect for that and helps him out in the final fight or something.
Peter is a hell of a lot of fun in this, but he doesn't really have the arc at all.
No, he doesn't.
So,
no,
it's a basic kind of, you know, fallen hero back to hero type thing, I guess. But he's not even a hero at the start. But it's fine. It's fine.
I can forgive a lot of the problems of the film because overall I really liked it.
I enjoyed it.
This film definitely has its problems, but I'd probably still recommend it. So
yeah, I definitely. Well, let's get on to that. I mean, talking through it as I go through it, I think it's. I'll give my summation now. Basically, folks in the chat, I want those scores. I want the scores out of 12. Out of 12 burgers, we're still using that rating. Let us know if it's cheese on it.
We're appropriating it from the Americans.
Exactly. For me, I've come round to it more as we're talking about it. I found it quite difficult to get into. I was really thrown off by it being a remake that was so very far from the original. But I've come to appreciate like some of the things they did to shake it up and to make it different. I'm like, okay. And some of the set pieces really are good, even if it is quite messy in some things.
Yeah.
And even if the character work isn't as strong and it doesn't have the subtext. I was going to be quite harsh. I think I'd probably give it something in the region of a 7. Bit of cheese.
You say that's quite harsh.
Yeah.
I think that's. I don't know. I don't think that's particularly harsh, considering that's top half. That's above average.
It's just about the top half. Well, I think there are creative elements in there. You know, it's something like I would never fight to rewatch this, but if people really wanted to see it, I'd go along with it. You know.
I'd definitely watch it again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
British Knight. International bankers' rating currency isn't recognised in this podcast, I'm afraid.
Oh, isn't what?
Can you
TCG?
My question to you is: can you put cheese on an international banker?
They're called shekel makers. Honestly,
we need to reframe that rating, I'm afraid.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm just thinking international banker. I'm just thinking of putting cheese on international bankers. It's late.
We're overrunning as well, by the way. Super Nanny's gonna spank us all.
Ow!
Oh, dear.
What, did you see that? That's bullying. Sorry, it's a reference from her show. I know all the things that she says.
Well, you can, but I'm not sure they'd appreciate it.
Oh, she's no.
Oh, she's gone. No.
Oh Christ!
Looks like we're running the show now.
What have we done?
Look at me. I am the captain now.
Fault.
Oh, she's back.
Oh, no. Why did you have to say that about her on her own stream, that crime guy? Oh my god, that was
because
awful.
it needed to be said.
Oh dear, I just gone over the secret for eternal youth. Did everyone miss that? Oh,
I did. Sorry.
Gutted, folks.
I'll be eternally youthful anyway.
The only person I know who enjoys wearing cheese slices is Dankula.
Are we forgetting the end of Buffy season 4, people? The cheese man? Shocking lack of Buffy knowledge in this episode. Sorry, that was just really weird. Like, you started reading out a comment about international bankers and the stream from my end, the stream just got shut down.
Oh, no.
They're after her. You're never getting your suit.
Susan, Susan,
just for the record, I wasn't referring to anything other than putting cheese on international bankers. Is that something you can do? British Knight kindly has come back and said that you can, but he's not sure that they'd appreciate it. It depends on the international banker, I guess.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, I've got some scores coming in, so we've got a 7 out of 12. I maybe won't keep that on the screen too long. I'm seeing 7s. Okay, this is good. Let's get some more. People keep sending it into the chat, and I'll try not to have the stream die. Okay, let's hear from that crime guy. What do you think of the remake?
I actually enjoyed it. I actually found it easier to get into than the original to begin with, because I don't know if you recall, I really struggled with it, and I think because I was sort of because I knew what to expect in this one, whereas the original I had no idea. Yeah, there were some issues with the plot, some inconsistencies, but it wasn't enough to ruin the film. I think the cast was fantastic. I think Colin Farrell made a really good Jerry Dandridge. David Tennant's rendition of or interpretation of Peter Vincent was quite unique, and it changed quite a bit, but not in a way to disrespect the original character. So I like that. Yeah, Anton's portrayal of Charlie, I really liked. I would have liked to have seen a bit more Ed. I would have liked to have seen that relationship between him and Ed get fleshed out a little bit more. And I would have liked to have seen Peter Vincent do a little bit more in terms of the action. I think taking away his battle with Ed was perhaps was perhaps a bit of a mistake. Yeah. But on the whole, I really enjoyed it. I'd actually give this I'm going to give it an 8 with some cheese on top of the bun, just to piss off people.
Oh, degenerate. All right. Charity.
Oh, I really enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend it to people who perhaps aren't who haven't seen the original. Because I think if you see the original, you have a lot of attachment to the original. You may not like it as much because obviously, as you said, they changed a lot about it. But I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the cast was brilliant, as we've said. And I think it's a new take on it. It's a more modern film. It's definitely geared to a more modern audience. And the things that they did change, for the most part, they did really well. So I'm probably going to give it an 8.5 out of 12.
Oh, I should
Nice.
add as well that no cheeseburgers were harmed in the making of this film.
Excellent. Oh, that's true. Yeah, they didn't you not docking any points
Nope.
for wasting burgers. That's right.
Nope.
Okay, so 8 and an 8.5. Yeah, that's pretty good.
With
That's good.
with
With
cheese
cheese.
as well, definitely.
Nice. And Haryan.
Mm,
Oh, wait. I should.
yes.
That crime guy, could you confirm my prediction for Haryan, which I'm realizing will be very wrong?
Where am I?
All right.
Let me.
Oh.
Got
You
it.
got it?
I got it.
Okay. Am I allowed to talk now?
Yep.
So yes, I did enjoy this film, mainly because of the actors. They were all portrayed well. Set piece for entertaining. But my score, as you know, is based more on the objective side. How was the writing? How does everything fit together? I'd say this film is mostly competent, with some areas where characters' brains fall out of their head. Vampire powers are actually quite consistent. None of them actually turn into bats, but they all seem to kind of just change their face to have fangs. So you don't have that random thing where Evil Ed can turn into a werewolf, like the last one. Evil Ed was, I'd say, underused in this one. I found him a lot more tolerable than the 80s one. Yeah, he was underused. Amy seemed to be in it a bit more. The mum. A few characters felt more like a plot device, and I don't feel there were any plot device in the last one. Because Evil Ed's basically just there to have Peter Vincent in. That's the only reason he's there. Consistency, I just don't get why Jerry was doing some of the things he was doing. I don't see why he was so after the protagonists. They just have to be neighbours. That seems to be the only reason. But as I say, mostly competent apart from those issues. So I'm gonna give it a 7 with cheese.
Oh,
You sure you don't want to?
No, I'm
that?
sure. I'm sure
Sure
I don't
about
want to
that?
change that. Yeah, I was thinking, should I give it a 6 or 7? I was between those two, but I think I'll give it a 7 because I think it works a bit better than. Because I was worried I'm giving it more of a leeway because I liked it. So
Okay.
but
I'll read out. Prediction: Haryan gives it an 8.
Oh,
He likes the bubs and the set pieces, but notices the world building is weak. All you had to do was say the number 8, and it would have been another spot on performance. Because you mentioned the set pieces, you mentioned world building.
Pretty close.
There's too many characters doing stupid things.
Why don't
I
you give
can't
it-
answer
why
these
don't you-
questions right now. Oh, I've got all the evidence at
Okay.
home.
Hear me out. Give it an
Bellend.
extra burger purely
No.
because no cheeseburgers were harmed in the making of this production.
No. It's not happening. I think even 7's a bit too might be a bit too much. So
The problem I've got here is I've overrated the bubs. I said you'd like the bubs. I don't think you've been into them. That's why I've given it I've said it's a point too many.
Yeah, having said that, there was barely any gay subtext in this one as well, so I could give it an extra burger for that, but I won't.
Do you hear everyone? He's giving it an extra burger.
No, I said
Yes.
I could. I didn't say I was.
You, Haryan.
It is not flame grilled. There is nothing flaming about these burgers.
Oh, yeah, like shooting
Thank
the
you,
roof
Haryan.
through the basement of a 2-story house. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly like
I'll
that.
take that. I'll take that. We're pretty close. We are pretty darn close. And yeah, Mima with a good observation. The house does not make sense. It's clearly got some Danielewski design in there for anyone who likes their obscure references. That is scores on the doors given. I think it's largely positive. I was I was expecting to kind of slate this one, to be honest. I really struggled with that first 30 minutes. But I've come around to it. This is something we can recommend, and I hope it's been interesting to everyone.
Yeah, because that's weird. Because I like the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought it worked. So
Yeah, I
it
was
was
the
too
opposite.
rushed.
I struggled with the first 30 minutes of the first one, of the original one. Sorry.
I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like maybe I'm a bit too easily pleased by films then, because I tend to like, I don't know, like every film that we've watched, I tend to have rated it a lot higher.
that's
That's great. That's awesome.
My score doesn't really come from what I felt from the film. It's more how is the film as like a craft rather than did I like it or not. But either way of doing it's fine. So that's why mine seem harsh.
Yeah. Harry's trying to get noticed by Mauler, so he's, looking a little
Yeah, I really want to get on EFAP. I need Mauler on my channel to talk about Soma. Mauler, get on my channel.
We'll have to do some
when are you going to finish
TCG
Soma?
style shelling to get you there.
Maybe.
Do it.
We'll give it a go.
I'm
All right.
catching up with you, Haryan. You need to start. You need to jump on the train.
Well, okay. So we'll be drawing it to a close, but there is something that we always do at this time of the stream, which is for people who've stuck around, who are here at the end, loyal viewers, we start dropping some exclusive information. You will hear it before anyone else hears it, and that is the horror homework for next week.
Booyah.
Oh yeah. We've finished, you may have noticed, a weird double run of follow-ups that are very influenced. So we had the Final Destination, which was very influenced by The Omen. We've got the, Fright Night and the remake, where the influence is a bit more direct. We're going into an odd one next week, and we are going to cover 2009's House of the Devil. Now, this is going to be an interesting one.
I've never seen
House of the Devil is a film made in 2009 that is designed to look like a film made in 1975.
Right.
So, watch that. But I would also suggest you do some watch around viewing. So to get to really appreciate what they're doing, try and watch something else from that period. And I would recommend 2 films to you if you're up for it. I would recommend 1974's Black Christmas, or you might want to try, I think it's 1976, When a Stranger Calls. I'm going to confirm that date. Oh, I'm sorry, it is 1979, When a Stranger Calls, 1979. That's going to give you a feel for what House of the Devil is doing, because there's a lot of artistry that has gone into it to make it look very authentic.
Right.
And as part of House of the Devil, we are going to have a little presentation on the Satanic Panic. We've got an interesting topic on that one. So you're hearing it first, folks. Next Tuesday's House of the Devil from 2009. Now I'm going to announce that on Minds. It's going to go on my Twitter as well. You can always find that. That is my Twitter. You can follow me there and get the horror homework announcements. But you've got the advance warning, and I'll include the extra viewing that you can do. And not just that, folks. I have a second bonus for you.
Oh my lord!
I know, right?
Oh, you spoilers.
I do. I'm too good. It makes up for random mic errors that cause pre-stream panics. And we actually have a second stream this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Murgu, good shout. Very good shout. Yes, Amityville Horror would be a great one to watch for that time period. You definitely get the vibe as well. I'd say Poltergeist is a bit too late. It's not. Things have definitely moved on by Poltergeist times, so Amityville's a really good shout. The second stream is going to be a slightly weird one, so we're not going to do it on a Tuesday, because we're doing this. But we're doing it on Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. We're being rejoined by Haryan and that crime guy, and we're bringing Zen back. Because we're going to talk about The World's End.
Denzel Jones.
Oh, as
It's
you will
met
know,
his name now.
I'm not calling him that. That isn't happening.
all right. We're going to be talking about 2013's The World's End. It is not a horror. It's got some scary bits, but I can't cram it into our regular Tuesday thing. And I'm going to do a stream on it because I just think it's really fascinating. It's weird how it's, I think, generally kind of underrated, and it's rich for interpretation. So we're going to be doing that on Thursday at 8 p.m. So you can drop around there and get a double dose of proper horror show that week. Now, that being said, I'm going to thank my guests. I'm going to thank everyone watching live and everyone who's watching on catch up, and just turn to my guest, that crime guy. Thank you very much. And anything to show?
Yes, so a new video was released today, but it wasn't on my channel. So it was actually part of a collaboration that I did with another true crime channel called oh my gosh, what are they called? It's literally just oh my god, this is embarrassing. The Fear Files, sorry. Yeah, the Fear Files. So what I've done is I've actually set up a new playlist in my homepage. So if you go to my channel, links in the description here, go to collaborations and it'll be the most recent one. There's 2 cases in there. One which I've already covered, but this guy does really good editing. And it was a real pleasure to work with him. Also, I should add the Tuesday stream next week. I won't be here, unfortunately, because going away for a couple of days as it's my little girl's birthday around that time, so won't be able to be here with you guys covering the film, but I'll try and get in the chat during the live stream where possible if I can.
Nice. All right, and Haryan, anything to show?
I made a video.
Hold on. Sorry, just one second. Mima, my community page is there. I did say.
Oh.
Okay.
And it's in my Twitter. You can follow me there
meme.
at that crime guy.
Bad meme.
And you can also follow me on Mines.
Stop blue balling, Haryan.
Can I kick him from the chat? Yes. So my shilling.
I've also been getting. No.
Oh my god!
Right, no more.
So I made a video today about how Ash Sarkar is a complete retard as usual. She explains to me why billionaires are bad people without actually explaining why billionaires are bad people as usual. Fun times. I'm on a stream every day this week. So today's this, tomorrow's regional variations with tail feature as usual. Thursday I'm on, as Proper Horror Show said, Proper Horror Show to talk about The World's End with Zen and that crime guy and myself. Friday I am doing a stream on the Powell Inn to talk about the book Empire, How Britain Made the Modern World by Niall Ferguson. It's like one of my favourite non-fiction books ever, just obviously about the British Empire, and explains how we are clearly the best country in the world. Sovereign. And finally, Saturday, I should be doing a Laughing at the Guardian, but I need to get guests, and I keep forgetting to get guests. But I will definitely be doing it this week. And then on Sunday, I can finally have a night off.
Oh, nice. All right, I didn't see that Sarkar video, so I'm going straight there.
Oh, I just watched that.
Yeah. I like the sound of the Powell Inn book. The review of that. Nice. Yeah.
All right. I think I put it in our Discord chat a while ago as well, so you can find it there.
Sweet. Oh yeah, I asked you about that. Nice.
Yep.
All right, and Charity, thanks again for joining us, doing 2 weeks in a row. We really appreciate it. And
thank you for having me on. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, no worries. Doing great stuff. So anything you'd like to share?
I do have a YouTube. I haven't been able to upload much recently because obviously I'm in between houses at the moment because I'm moving in to my next house for uni on the 1st of August. I'm hoping to get some stuff done for that. So just keep an eye out, I suppose.
All right, cool beans. And I think we need to have you on again. It's certainly for Scream 4. I know we've talked about
that would be good.
And I think I definitely want to do a sort of Scream 5 sort of rapid reaction, but we got quite a while until that.
Oh yeah.
The sounds of it. Okay, all right. Well, I believe that is everything for this week. I'm going to renew thanks to all my guests and to everyone who's watched, and reiterate, please do help me by sharing this, spreading the love for the channel. We are close. We are close to the 1,000. So sharing it is the most helpful thing you can do. Spread the good word.
Stake that subscribe button through the heart.
Absolutely.
Set it on fire.
Oh, just set yourself on fire and give that subscribe button a great big death hug.
Shove some garlic down the like button's throat.
Lovely.
Oh my god, that is wow. Gee, morbid.
And Yiz, boo, hurry up and watch my content.
Yeah,
Wink,
for all,
nudge,
for all,
nudge.
subscribe to that crime guy for all your true crime needs.
Yeah.
All right, but I'm going to end it here. Sorry we started late today. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'm going to sign off with thanks and choose, or even thanks y'all, choose, as I always say.
Hashtag
Cheers.
rock gang.
Hashtag shield gang.
Hashtag chill gang.